They create it. They move it. They control the flow of capital. Banks finance wars and rebuild nations. Mayer Amschel Rothschild becomes a banker. But he knows Frankfurt is still a small pond. To build something that lasts, something permanent, he needs to think bigger. He needs to go global. He has 5 sons. 5 smart, ambitious, hungry sons who have watched him build an empire from nothing. And he has a plan for them. A crazy, audacious, borderline insane plan. This, he taught them, was the unbreakable commitment that would make the dynasty last. And they listened. This pact, this creed, would be tested again and again, becoming the family's defining characteristic. In 1848, as revolution sweeps France, the Paris Bank, run by Nathan's brother James, is on the brink of complete destruction. Angry mobs are in the streets, and the banking system is collapsing. James turns to his nephew in London, Lionel, Nathan's son. Lionel faces a choice. It will detail the rise of a new banking empire, the House of Morgan, which, in a brilliant move of counter-analysis during the Franco-Prussian War, saw what the Rothschilds missed. While the Rothschilds passed on financing a losing French side, Junius Morgan bet not on France's victory, but on its ability to repay, a bet that paid off spectacularly, and announced a new competitor on the world stage. It's the profit margins. They're terrible. The work is just labor. The margins are the insult. The margins are the architecture of your oppression. You are legally forbidden from the good stuff. You can't deal in weapons, silk, or fresh fruit. Those are for the Christian merchants, the ones who look at you with a casual, confident disdain. They are the ones who can own land, who can farm, who can join handicraft guilds. You cannot. You can only trade in the scraps they leave behind. It is piling up faster than you ever imagined back when you were hauling textile bales through the ghetto. By 1782, you are no longer just comfortable. You are rich, really rich, so rich and so trusted that Prince William makes you his official investment manager. Pause for a moment to savor the irony. Think about what this means. Listen, he says, and his voice, accustomed to whispering with princes, now carries the weight of a testament. What I have built here, in Frankfurt, it is good. We are rich. He almost spits the word, but it is nothing. It is a pond, and it can be drained in a day. He gestures out the window. Toward the gates he must still obey. A new prince, a war, a fever of jealousy, and we are back to trading rags. Our entire fortune sits under one man's thumb, one government's laws, in one city. A whisper in the Austrian court that Salomon overhears will be hissed to James in Paris, who will alert the French government for a price. They will not rely on public postal services, which are slow, censored, and insecure. They will create their own private carriers, well-trained horses that can ride day and night. They will, as the transcript notes, even use carrier pigeons for urgent messages, breeding and training them specifically for financial intelligence. They will build a communication network faster than any government's. And then, the money. You will move money faster than anyone else can. How? By not moving it at all. This is the true genius of the system. In 1800, if a merchant in London wants to pay a debt to a supplier in Vienna, what must he do? He must buy gold bullion, risk the price fluctuations, hire guards, put it on a carriage, and pray it isn't robbed on the weeks or months-long journey. A blockade, to a mind like Nathan's, is just a government-enforced scarcity, and scarcity creates astronomical profit margins. A roll of English wool that costs £1 in London might now be worth £20 in blockaded Paris, if you could get it there. This is where Mayer's crazy, audacious plan, his network of 5 arrows, ceases to be a business plan and becomes a weapon. Nathan is not a lone smuggler, desperately trying to get a rowboat ashore. The reputation is building. He has the capital. He has the network. He has the reputation. He is ready for the final metamorphosis. It is time to become a bank. He has learned his father's final lesson. Trading textiles, even smuggling them, has a ceiling. You are still trading things. Things can be seized. Ships can sink. Warehouses can burn. The real, untouchable, limitless power is in trading money itself. Banking has no ceiling, the transcript states. It is not the ancient aristocratic Barings or the state Goliath Bank of England. It is a private command center. It is the fortress built from the proceeds of his gray area wars. This bank will serve as the financial heart of the entire family operation. It will finance the smuggling runs. It will provide the capital for his brother's operations. It will become the London hub for the family's private wire transfer system. The crazy, audacious plan is now live, and he is one of its chief executors. He has already forged his bank, N.M. Rothschild and Sons, from the profits of his textile schemes and his gray area smuggling. He is a major player, but the family is still, in the eyes of the establishment, just a group of successful, if somewhat suspect, merchants. They are rich. They are not powerful. They are not yet indispensable. Mayer's death has come at a pivotal, violent moment. A Rothschild promise is now the only true international currency. This is a gold mine. They are, in effect, charging a private tax on every major war and diplomatic maneuver in Europe. But Nathan is not satisfied with being a toll collector. This entire, vast, profitable system is, to him, just a cover. The real business is not the fees they collect. The real business is the information they glean from processing those transactions. This is the pivot, the real money. And James, the last of the 5 original arrows, is not intimidated by following Nathan. If anything, he sees it as his chance to prove he's just as capable, maybe more capable. James is a different kind of Rothschild. He is not Nathan. Nathan was the scrappy fighter who built the London Empire through sheer force of will. He was the smuggler, the traitor, the raw, elemental force. James is different, more refined. He had better schooling. It could take both houses down. This is the ultimate test. Is the pact a piece of sentimental family history, or is it the law? Lionel, who grew up hearing his father Nathan speak of his grandfather Mayer, remembers his grandfather's words: family unity above all else. The Rothschild banks don't compete. They don't abandon each other. They work together, or they fail together. That's the deal. That's the foundation everything is built on. He makes his choice. The pact is not history. It is J. Pierpont Morgan. He is the son of their rival, Ingenious. But as the transcript warns, if you thought Ingenious was impressive, J.P. is on another level. J.P. Morgan is American to his core. He understands the chaos because he was born in it. He thrives in it. He is not a passive lender. He is an organizer. Because Europe is heading towards something that will make all previous wars look like practice runs. And the center of global power has just quietly and definitively shifted across the Atlantic. Then the Netherlands and Belgium. These aren't campaigns, these are lightning strikes. France is next. And France is supposed to be strong. They've got the Maginot Line, this massive defensive fortification, supposedly impenetrable. The Germans just go around it. They push through the Ardennes forest, which everyone thought was too difficult for tanks. Slowly, painfully, the tide starts to turn. D-Day, June 6th, 1944. Allied forces land on the beaches of Normandy. They start pushing inland, liberating France. By early 1945, it's over. Hitler kills himself. Germany surrenders. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe. But for the Rothschild family, the victory is bittersweet. Keep the family involved in decision-making. Avoid public scrutiny as much as possible. This strategy works. It's quiet, it's conservative, but it rebuilds their fortunes. For decades, N.M. Rothschild and Sons operates as a prestigious, powerful boutique, a shrine to old-world banking in a noisy, new-world market. And then the 1,980 seconds hit. The world changes again. The ultra-wealthy don't want attention, the transcript explains. They want the opposite. They want to move through the world without being noticed. They want to solve problems quietly. This is the Rothschild value proposition in the modern world. If you're a billionaire with a complicated problem, you don't go to a retail bank. You go somewhere that's been dealing with complicated problems for ultra-wealthy clients for over 2 centuries. Somewhere that knows how to keep quiet. But he'd be disappointed that the unity dissolved, that the empire fragmented, that his grandchildren's grandchildren don't work together the way his sons did. But he'd be smart enough to understand why. The world that required that iron discipline, a world of ghetto walls and slow communication and total exclusion, is gone. The modern family is looser, more flexible, because the world allows them to be. That flexibility is what allows them to survive now. It is a story that begins not with a bang, but with a smell. To understand the Rothschilds, one must first transport themselves to the 1,760 seconds, to the Judengasse, the Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt, Germany. It is a place of profound, systemic oppression. Imagine waking up, not on a soft mattress, but on a thin straw pallet that's seen better days, probably better years. The first thing that hits you, as the transcript vividly describes, is not the light, but the stench. He is just another man trying to survive in a system precision-engineered to ensure he does not. The laws of Frankfurt are explicit. Jews cannot own land. They cannot farm. They cannot work in handicrafts. They are forbidden from dealing in the good stuff like weapons, silk, or fresh fruit. Those avenues to wealth are closed, reserved for the Christian merchants who live outside the ghetto walls. Mayer, like his family before him, trades textiles, and he hates it. He stops hauling heavy textiles and begins dealing in gold coins and antiques. The margins are immediately intoxicatingly better. A rare coin, sold to the right buyer, can fetch 10 times what he paid. But more importantly, the clientele changes. He is no longer haggling with textile merchants over pennies. He is meeting real money, old money, noble money. This pivot leads to the break that changes everything. He becomes a court agent for Prince William of Hesse-Kassel. He buys the coins at one price and sells them to the prince at another, higher price. And the prince has no idea, because Mayer is the one telling him what the market price is. He is making money coming and going. The commission is nice, but the front-running, the control of information and access, that is where the real wealth is building. He does this over and over. He will send 4 of them to the great capital cities of Europe, Vienna, Naples, Paris, and the crown jewel, the absolute center of the financial universe, London. One son stays in Frankfurt to maintain the home base. The other 4 will be his outposts, his ambassadors. This is the masterstroke. Each will establish their own banking house, but they will not compete. They will work together. They'll share information, and they'll move money between cities faster than anyone else can. But legitimate business, as he learned from his father, has its limits. He uses his growing network to start smuggling textiles and precious metals, taking risks that other merchants won't, and building the connections that will soon become invaluable. The network's true power is unleashed by war. In 1814, as the Napoleonic Wars rage, the Duke of Wellington is winning battles, but is on the verge of losing his campaign. The rational banker would cut Paris loose. Bailing out the French branch is risky as hell. If France collapses, it could take the London bank down too. But Lionel remembers his grandfather's words. Family unity, above all else. They work together or they fail together. Lionel arranges a massive loan, stabilizing the Paris bank at his own risk. He does it because that's what family means. That's what being a Rothschild means. The family bond held. The dynasty survived. This introduction to the Rothschilds, therefore, is not just a story of wealth. It is a story of structure, strategy, and survival. It is about a family that operated as a private intelligence agency, a transnational logistics corporation, and a central bank all rolled into one, long before such concepts were commonplace. But an introduction to their saga must also be an introduction to their conflicts, for their dominance could not last forever. The story must trace the internal fraying of the family bond, as generations who grew up rich lacked the hunger of their ancestors. It must follow the path to the 20th century, where the family's network, built on cooperation, was shattered by World War I, pitting members of the family on opposing sides, with London Rothschilds funding Britain and Vienna Rothschilds funding Germany. This trauma would be nothing compared to the existential threat that followed. The narrative that follows is one of adaptation and survival in a world that had irrevocably changed. It is the story of a family that, having lost its dominance, chose a new path: discretion, privacy, and niche service to the ultra-wealthy. It is a story of internal feuds, like the one between Jacob and Evelyn Rothschild, in the 1,980 seconds over the very soul of the bank, whether to modernize and grow or to remain private and family-controlled. It is a cage, just over 10 feet wide and a few hundred yards long, sealed at both ends by iron gates. At dusk, those gates are locked by Christian sentries, and you are sealed inside with the thousands of others who share your fate. Your name, Rothschild, comes from the red shield that marked your family's house in this very alley for generations. It is not a mark of distinction. It is a label, a target, a reminder of your place. You are 19 years old, and you are already a failure. You are funneled by law into the most despised and least profitable of trades: old clothes, second-hand goods, and textiles. You are a peddler, a hauler. Your day consists of leveraging your own body against bales of fabric that weigh more than you do, pushing a wooden cart through the muck of the ghetto, and then, if you are granted a pass, through the cleaner, wider streets of Frankfurt proper. And you hate it. The transcript is clear on this. Not the work itself, really. And the core, foundational realization of your life crystallizes in your mind. They're not smarter than you. They just have access. Access. That is the word. That is the key. They have access to markets you're barred from, access to officials who will listen to them, access to a legal system that protects them. You have access to nothing. The system is designed to keep you down, to keep you in the ghetto, to keep you hauling textiles until your back gives out. So you decide. If the system will not grant you access, you will create your own. You will find a product that bypasses the rules, a product whose value is not in its weight or its utility, but in its story, a product that the rich, the right people desire. You pivot. You stop focusing on textiles and you start dealing in gold coins and antiques. This is a risk. It requires a different kind of capital, not just money, but knowledge. You must become an expert. You must be able to spot a fake from across the room. You spend your nights not sleeping, but studying. You use your meager profits to buy old coins, not to sell, but to learn. You feel their weight. You study the strike of the die, the patina of age. You learn the histories of the princely houses of Germany who minted what and when. You become a numismatist. You learn to spot value where others see only an old piece of metal. And the new trade works. The margins are way better. A rare coin can fetch 10 times what you paid for it if you find the right buyer. This is a revelation. You are no longer trading your physical strength for pennies. You are trading your intellect for fortunes. More than the money, the clientele changes. This is the access you craved. You are no longer haggling with textile merchants. You are being invited, albeit through the back door, into the estates of minor barons and wealthy collectors. Real money, old money, noble money, and one day, this reputation brings you the break that changes everything. You become a court agent for Prince William of Hesse-Kassel. Think about this. Prince William, later William IX, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, is not just any noble. He is one of the wealthiest men in Europe. He has stupid amounts of money, the kind of wealth that makes your head spin. And he is a passionate, almost obsessive coin collector. Prince William, through his treasurer, informs you he wishes to acquire a specific set of rare gold ducats. He allocates a substantial sum for the purchase, from which you will be paid your standard commission, a generous 8%. The old Mayer Rothschild would have taken this money, gone to the market, found the coins, bought them, delivered them, and collected his 8%. It would have been a very good payday. But you are the new mayor, the man who understands access. You bow to the treasurer. His treasurer pays you. You have just been paid twice. First, you make money on the spread, the difference between what you paid for the coins and the price you just sold them for. This difference is pure profit. Second, after the sale is complete, you then present your bill for your services as his agent, and you collect your 8% commission fee on top. The prince has no idea. Nobody is checking. The prince gets his coins. You get paid twice. You are still, at the end of the day, a servant. A very wealthy servant, but a servant nonetheless. Your entire fortune is tied to the whims of one man. If Prince William dies, or loses his power, or simply gets bored of you, it's all over. Your access and your wealth evaporates. This isn't a dynasty. This is a high-wire act. To build something permanent, something that survives you, you need to be the source of the power, not just the agent of it. And you know where that power lives. You start by building relationships. You establish credit, not just as a dealer, but as a financier. You lend money. You prove you can be trusted with other people's money. Slowly, methodically, you transform. Your nameplate changes. You are no longer Mayer the coin dealer. You are Mayer the banker. By the close of the 1700s, you have done it. You are the richest man in all of Frankfurt. You have won. You have beaten the ghetto. You have beaten the systemic oppression. You have built an empire from nothing. But you haven't. You walk out of your fine new house still in the Judengasse, for you are still not permitted to live elsewhere, and the smell hits you. It's the same smell of rotting vegetables and unwashed wool. The gates still lock at night. Frankfurt is still a ghetto. It's still Germany. It's still limited. You've hit the ceiling again. You are the biggest fish in a very small pond. It does not happen in a mahogany-paneled boardroom or a modern war room. It happens within the cramped, prosperous confines of Mayer Amschel Rothschild's house back in the Judengasse. The ghetto gates still lock at night. The smell, though fainter in this wealthy home, still seeps in from the alley. It is a constant reminder. Mayer Amschel, now a middle-aged man, a banker, the richest man in Frankfurt, summons his 5 sons, his 5 smart, ambitious, hungry sons. It is a weakness. It is a target. He looks at each of his sons. Amschel, the eldest, the conservative, the homekeeper. Salomon, the second, the careful diplomat. Karl, the fourth, the tough, tenacious one. James, the youngest, the quick-witted, charming one. And then his eyes land on his 3rd son, Nathan, Nathan is different, fierce, ambitious, quick to take offense, and even quicker to strike back. Where the others have caution, Nathan has fire. A chaotic, strategically vital port caught between warring powers. A dangerous, volatile place where fortunes could be made or destroyed on a rumor. James, he speaks to the youngest. You will go to Paris. Paris, the center of culture, of change, and the perennial rival to London. A city of ideas and, as they would soon see, of revolutions. And finally, he looks at Nathan. And you, Nathan, you will take the crown jewel. You will go to London. London. Even saying the word seems to silence the room. In the early 1800s, London is the center of the financial universe. It is not just a capital. It is the hub of a global superpower. The British Navy rules the seas. The Industrial Revolution is transforming the economy. The Bank of England is the beating heart of global finance. If Frankfurt is a pond, London is the ocean. If you want to play in the big leagues, you go to London. This is Mayer's plan. He is taking his family, the tightest, most cohesive unit he knows, and tearing it apart, scattering the pieces across the continent. He is sending his Jewish sons, ghetto outsiders, into the hearts of the world's great Christian powers, where they have no friends, no status, and nothing but their name and the capital he provides. And this is where he lays down the great commandment, the principle that turns this from a mad gamble into a machine of domination. It is slow, expensive, and suicidally risky. The Rothschild system ends that overnight. The London merchant simply goes to Nathan's bank. He gives Nathan his £100. Nathan does not ship gold. He writes a letter, a note of credit, to his brother Salomon in Vienna. Days later, the Rothschild courier arrives, and Salomon pays the supplier £100, minus a fee, from his own vault in Austrian gulden. Nothing physical moved across Europe. No risk, no delay. They make one profit. The guys who dye the fabrics. They make one profit. The guys who manufacture the finished goods. They make one profit. Everyone's specialized. Nathan looks at that supply chain and thinks, why take one? I want all three. He goes to the manufacturers with a game-changing proposal. He won't just sell them finished goods. He will simplify their lives. He'll supply them with both the raw materials and the dye. The banking houses in different cities can't compete. They have to cooperate. They must share information, move money between them seamlessly, act as one entity. This is the foundation. Not the money, not the banking skills, but the family bond, the unbreakable commitment to each other. And his sons listen. They take it to heart. They promise. In 1812, Mayer Amschel Rothschild dies in the same ghetto he was born in. But he dies knowing he has succeeded. He has escaped. The kind of wars that bankrupt nations and create opportunities for those with capital and courage. And the Rothschild banking houses, now perfectly positioned like military outposts, are perfectly positioned to provide all of it, for a price, obviously, a very good price. The spider web has been spun. Now, it waits for the tremors of war. And a very large, very desperate tremor is about to shake the British government. A tremor that will lead them directly to Nathan's door. The crazy, audacious plan is now live, and he is one of its chief executors. But Nathan is not afraid. He is dangerous. He is driven. He is in London, the center of the financial universe, and he is just now hitting his stride. His father's death is not a pause. It is an accelerant. He has already proven the value of his father's £20,000 stake. Now, he will show the world what the fierce son can do with it. Let us rewind just a few years, to the moment he arrived. Picture this. Nathan, in his early 20s, standing on the docks of London. He is an outsider in every conceivable way. A German in England, a Jew in a Christian society, a tradesman in a city built on aristocratic old money. He has his accented English, his intense, calculating eyes, and his 20,000 pounds. He is not here to be liked. He is here to win. He bypasses the bankers in their powdered wigs. He bypasses the gentlemen's clubs. He walks into the workshops of Manchester and London, these frantic, steam-choked factories, and he makes a proposal that is impossible to refuse. Imagine him, intense and direct, cutting through the noise. "You," he says to a harried manufacturer, "you spend all your time sourcing cotton. You worry about prices from America, from the Levant. Then you spend more time haggling for dyes, for indigo, for cochineal. Your life is complicated." The manufacturer nods. He buys it at a pre-negotiated preferential price. After all, he's their biggest, only supplier, and then sells that to the retailers, the exporters, the army, all at the full market price. 3 profits instead of 1. While his competitors are making 5% on a single transaction, Nathan is making 5% 3 times on the same bolt of cloth. According to his own likely exaggerated account, he turned that initial 20,000 pounds into 60,000 pounds. He tripled his money in just a few years. The goods are met by an agent of James Rothschild. They are whisked away, using the family's private carriers, to the Rothschild office in Paris. The goods are sold, often to the French government itself, for way more than they cost. The profits are then moved back to Nathan, not in a wagon full of gold, which could be seized, but through the family's private credit system. James buys, for example, British government bonds in Paris, which are trading at a discount, since no one thinks France will pay a British debt, and has them sent via courier to Nathan, who can sell them in London for their full value. Or, the money simply sits as a credit on James's books, waiting for Nathan's next order. It is a closed loop. It is almost risk-free, and it is wildly profitable. Nathan develops a reputation. The skies is not even the limit. The limit is how much wealth exists in the world. And so, he makes it official. He founds N.M. Rothschild and Sons. This is not just a change of letterhead. This is an ascension. It is a declaration. N.M. for Nathan Mayer. He puts his own name first, the mark of his ambition. Sons in the plural, a nod to the brothers who are his partners, and to the dynasty his father envisioned. This bank is not like the other banks in London. He is competing with the old money, the old rules, the men who looked down on him when he arrived on the docks. He has forged his arrow. He has planted it deep in the heart of the empire. The web is spun. The network, Mayer's crazy, audacious plan, is complete. The 5 banking houses, Frankfurt, Vienna, Naples, Paris, and now the powerhouse in London, are all in place, all linked by blood, all communicating daily, all operating as one. And Nathan is the only man in the world who can solve it. Mayer Amschel Rothschild is dead. The year is 1812. The patriarch is gone, the architect of the dynasty laid to rest in the same cramped ghetto he swore to transcend. The news travels slowly through the family's own private network of couriers, a wave of grief and duty washing over Europe. In Frankfurt, Amschel, the stoic eldest, takes his father's seat. In Paris, James, the charismatic youngest, feels the shift. In Vienna, Salomon, the diplomat, reads the letter with quiet gravity. But it is in London, in a small, chaotic office at 2 New Court Street, Swithin's Lane, that the news hits with the force of a coronation. Nathan Mayer Rothschild stands, the letter in his hand. The pressure he has felt his entire life, the immense weight of his father's expectations, the legacy he was trying to create has just multiplied. He is no longer just a son on a mission. He is a pillar. The training is over. He has seen them splinter. They collapse. They disappear as the next generation fights over control. You will not let that happen to the Rothschild name, he commands. This is the pact. This is the code that separates them from every other bank on earth. The London Bank, the Paris Bank, the Vienna, Frankfurt, and Naples banks, they are not to compete. They have to cooperate, share information, move money between them seamlessly, act as one entity. And the first great test of this pact is bearing down on Nathan, not as a financial opportunity, but as a big, expensive, logistical nightmare. The year is 1814. The Duke of Wellington is winning. He has pushed Napoleon's forces back toward France. He is preparing for the final invasion, the big push, the one that could end the war. He plans to take the fight directly to French soil. There is just one problem, a fatal one. Wellington needs French coins. It sounds simple. It is, in fact, an impossible, campaign-ending crisis. When you're running a military campaign in enemy territory, the transcript explains, you can't just show up and expect people to accept your money. The army must buy food, hay for the horses, wine, medical supplies, and most importantly, information from spies. And the French aren't taking British pounds. Why would they? They're at war with Britain. Wellington is stuck. The British government is stunned by the audacity. Nathan has, in one move, secured the entire asset base. Step 2. The network. The family pact in action. He now has a mountain of British gold in London. The government's problem, how to turn this into French coins and get it to France, remains. This is the moment where the Rothschild brother network, Mayer's grand design, is unleashed. Nathan doesn't do the stupid thing. He doesn't ship the gold from London. But, true to his father's front-running model, he also makes money on the currency conversion, on the transportation, on managing the whole operation. He's getting paid at every step, just like he learned from his father. But the profit, as vast as it is almost an afterthought. The real prize is what has just happened. The deal establishes the Rothschild name at the highest levels of British power. The family has changed in an instant. They are no longer just a bank. They are the bank. They are not just merchants. They are kingmakers. The government now knows that when they have an impossible financial problem, the Rothschilds can solve it. That, as the transcript says, is worth more than the profit from this one deal. That's access. That's influence. That's power. Mayer's final lesson, the pact of family unity above all else, has just been put to the ultimate test. It wasn't just a sentimental deathbed wish. It was a strategy. It was the design for a machine. And that machine, a private transnational network bound by blood, operating in the gray areas faster than any government, just saved the British war effort and put the Rothschild name on a trajectory toward legends. They had used their father's unbreakable bundle of 5 arrows to deliver a single, killing blow. The Wellington deal has changed everything. N.M. Rothschild & Sons is no longer just a bank. It is the bank. It was the design for a machine. And that machine, a private transnational network bound by blood, operating in the gray areas faster than any government, just saved the British war effort and put the Rothschild name on a trajectory toward legends. They had used their father's unbreakable bundle of 5 arrows to deliver a single, killing blow. The Wellington deal has changed everything. N.M. Rothschild & Sons is no longer just a bank. It is the bank. Nathan, the outsider from the Frankfurt ghetto, has become the guy who saved Britain's war effort. The government, the aristocracy, the old money bankers at Barings, they no longer look at him with condescension. They look at him with a mixture of awe, fear, and, most importantly, need. He has proven that his network, the crazy, audacious plan of his dead father, is the single most powerful financial tool on the planet. But the Wellington deal was a service. It was a logistical triumph. They had proven that the information their network gathered was infinitely more valuable than the commissions they charged. The commissions are honestly just a small part of their income. The real money, the absolutely insane money, comes next. Europe, as the transcript notes, has turned into a war zone. The final defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo in 1815 doesn't bring peace. It just shatters the continent into a new, unstable configuration. Countries are fighting constantly, and every war needs money. This is the new normal, and for the Rothschild banking houses, this is a gold mine. Literally. First, there is the legitimate business, the business that everyone can see. The foreign exchange market becomes critical. Picture the chaos. A Prussian general needs to buy wheat from a merchant in Sicily. A French king needs to pay a spy in Vienna. An Austrian noble needs to move his fortune from London. But their countries are actively at war with each other. Their currencies are worthless paper across the border. Gold is too dangerous to ship. So they go to a Rothschild. They are the only ones who can solve this. A Prussian official walks into Amschel's office in Frankfurt. He needs 10,000 thalers delivered to Naples. He gives Amschel the money. Amschel doesn't ship gold. He simply writes a note, a coded dispatch to his brother Karl in Naples. Comes from currency speculation, and this is where the Rothschild information network becomes a weapon. Think about how news traveled in the 1800s. The transcript demands. Slowly. It is a world of agonizing suspense. A major battle is fought on a Monday. London, the financial center of the world, might not hear the official news until days or even weeks later. A messenger's horse goes lame. A ship is becalmed in the Channel. A government, for political reasons, holds the news. A Rothschild agent in Calais, on the French coast, sees a fleet of ships setting sail. He scribbles a note French fleet sailed south on a tiny piece of paper, ties it to the leg of a bird bred and trained for this single purpose, and releases it. The pigeon does not fly to a public post. It flies to Nathan's private rooftop coop at New Court in London. It arrives hours before any ship could cross the Channel, hours before the official news is even known in France. The transcript calls it what it is. This is insider trading before insider trading even has a name. It's legal because there are basically no financial regulations. It's just smart business. Ruthless, maybe unfair, definitely, but legal and wildly profitable. This brings us to the legend, the greatest coup, the battle that cemented his invincibility, Waterloo. It is June 1815. Napoleon has returned. This is the final showdown. Everything is on the line. The London Stock Exchange is paralyzed with fear. If Wellington loses, the British government will collapse. British consols will be worthless paper. If Wellington wins, the bonds are the safest investment in the world. The entire city is waiting. Rumors are flying. Wellington is trapped. The Prussians have fled. Napoleon is victorious. The market is in freefall. People are panic selling their government bonds, desperate to get anything before they become worthless. He bought the entire British government's debt for a fraction of its worth. The next day, the official government messenger arrives. Wellington is victorious. Napoleon is captured. The war is over. The market explodes. The consols Nathan bought for nothing are suddenly worth a fortune. Whether the story of him pretending to sell is true or just a brilliant myth, the result is the same. He had the information first, he acted while others panicked, and he made a killing. This is the exclamation point on his career. The profits from currency speculation absolutely dwarf everything else. The Waterloo coup, combined with years of this insider trading, has done it. Nathan's making more money in a single day of trading than most people see in their entire lives. He is no longer just the son of a Frankfurt banker. He is not even just a successful London merchant. He is the banker. He is the man kings and governments come to when they need money. He is the man who can move markets with a single decision. He is, quite simply, the richest man in the world. The ghetto dweller's son, the fierce outsider, the accented immigrant, now stands astride the financial world. The network, built on his father's dying wish, has been weaponized. And that weapon, fueled by pigeons and private couriers, has just conquered the world. The wealth keeps compounding. But this new industrial world, a world of steam, iron, and unimaginable new fortunes, is casting a long, dark shadow. While the Rothschilds and other banking families are accumulating unbelievable fortunes, regular people are struggling. The income gap is massive. The industrialists are making money as fast as possible by any means necessary, and the worker conditions are brutal. Picture it: 16-hour days in factories, child labor. Everything could disappear overnight. James, the man at the top, is suddenly desperate. He needs help, fast. He turns not to a brother he is the last of the original arrows. He turns to the next generation. He turns to London. He turns to his nephew, Nathan's son, Lionel de Rothschild. And this is the moment where family unity either saves them or they learn that lesson was just pretty words. Lionel, in London, reads the frantic dispatches from his uncle in Paris. It is policy. Lionel arranges a loan, a big one, enough to stabilize the Paris bank and keep it from going under. It is his money, his bank's reserves, his risk. But he does it anyway because that's what family means. That's what being a Rothschild means. The gold flows from London to Paris, stabilizing James's finances. The Paris bank survives. The revolution eventually calms down. The Rothschild name takes a hit, but they're still standing, still operating, still powerful. Mayer Amschel's ultimate security system, the unbreakable bond, had worked. It had saved the dynasty from its first great existential crisis. The second generation had honored the promise of the first. But Lionel is not just his father's son. He is his own man. And saving his uncle's bank doesn't stop him. He's got bigger plans, way bigger. Lionel, now the clear leader of the London house, looks at the world his father and grandfather built. They have financial power. They're in government. Mayer Amschel had used his genius to front-run a prince. Nathan had used his information edge to conquer the bond market. James had used his strategic mind to pivot into the Industrial Revolution. And now Lionel, his grandson, had taken all of that financial power and merged it with political power. The Rothschilds are nearly untouchable. The final wall of the ghetto has been torn down, not from the outside, but, as Lionel planned, from within. The Rothschilds, by 1870, are not just a family. They are an institution, a fundamental law of European power, as elemental as gravity. Lionel is in the British Parliament, a lawmaker in the empire that once barely tolerated his father. In Paris, the refined and strategic James has died in 1868, passing the torch to his son Alphonse. The family is in its third generation, and they are no longer the hungry, fierce outsiders. They are the establishment. And so, for the first time in modern history, the House of Rothschild says no. They won't lend to France. Not a single franc. Why? The Rothschilds don't finance losing sides. That's just throwing money away. The other major banking houses like Baring Brothers also pass. Nobody wants to touch this loan. It's too risky. This is basic risk assessment. Smart banking, protect your capital. The Rothschilds, secure in their fortress of wealth, have become cautious. They have become prudent. Junius Morgan, watching from his office in London, sees the smart money run, and he sees his opportunity. He looks at this exact same situation and sees something completely different. He is asking a different question. This is the hinge point of modern finance. The Rothschilds ask, can France win? And the answer is no. Junius Morgan asks, can France pay back a loan? And here's his calculation. Yeah, France is probably going to lose. The military situation looks bad. But here's the thing about France. The economy is diversified. They've got agriculture, manufacturing, trade. They've got a solid tax collection system. They've got national wealth beyond just their military. Morgan makes a bet. He is not betting on Napoleon III's army. He is betting on the French nation's ability to be taxed. He is betting on the fundamental, long-term wealth of the people of France. He is betting that even if France loses the war, they'll still be able to repay debts. That's the bet. While the Rothschilds pass, Junius Morgan, through his syndicate, raises over £10 million for the French army, a massive loan. And he does something else that's crucial. As an American banker, he gives France access to American weapons. He is not just a lender, he is a supplier. He is doing exactly what Nathan did for Wellington, but he's doing it for the losing side. Except France doesn't default on Junius Morgan's loan. This is the crazy part. Bismarck predicted they would. Most people assumed they would. But Morgan called it right. The French people, in a paroxysm of national pride and agony, raise taxes. They sell assets. They squeeze their economy. They are humiliated. But they will be damned if they will be called deadbeats on top of it. And in 1873, just 2 years after losing the war, they prepay the bonds. A dynasty forged by an American outsider who learned the Rothschilds' game, waited for his moment, and then made a bet so bold it shocked everyone. The Rothschilds are still the biggest bank, but their monopoly on power, their aura of invincibility, has just been broken. The gauntlet has been thrown. Junius Morgan's 1,871 victory with the French loan, the bet the Rothschilds were too prudent to take, is more than just a successful deal. They are no longer outsiders trying to break in. They are the establishment. They have survived revolutions and grown richer through wars. They are nearly untouchable. And from their untouchable perch in London and Paris, they look across the Atlantic at the boiling, chaotic cauldron of post-Civil War America, and they are, in a word, unimpressed. This is the great miss, the colossal blind spot. While the Rothschilds are cultivating kings and stabilizing European empires, America is exploding. It is chaotic and wild and full of opportunity. But to the refined sensibilities of the third-generation Rothschilds, it is vulgar. It is a land of madmen, as the transcript says, a savage market of constant panics, corrupt politicians, and uncouth industrialists. While the Rothschilds are looking the other way, a new breed of titan is being forged in that fire. Banks that lent to them are suddenly holding worthless paper. Investors watch their portfolios evaporate. This is not just a crash. This is the panic of 1893. It triggers one of the worst depressions in American history. People lose jobs, businesses close, banks fail. It's a total mess. The nation is in freefall, and everyone's looking to the government to do something. But President Grover Cleveland has different ideas. They are doing the rational thing, converting their dollars to gold because they don't trust the currency anymore. A run on the bank is happening, but the bank is the United States Treasury. Every day, more gold leaves the Treasury. The government is maybe days away from running out completely. If that happens, the gold standard collapses. The dollar collapses. American credibility on the world stage gone. Foreign investment gone. He needs a partner. He needs someone with massive gold reserves. Someone who's been accumulating gold for decades. Someone with operations around the world who can move gold quickly. He needs the one name on earth that is still bigger than his own. He needs the Rothschilds. It is the ultimate irony. While the Rothschilds were missing the American railroad boom, they were not idle. Morgan provides the local management. Together, they are the lenders of last resort to the United States itself. And here's why banks love doing business with governments. Governments are reliable borrowers. They pay back their debts because they can always collect more taxes. They're not going to go bankrupt. The Rothschilds have survived their first great challenger. The 1,893 American rescue has, in a single, brilliant move, solved multiple problems. It stabilized the global economy, it paid handsomely, and it finally gave the family the access to the United States government that they had missed for decades. The alliance with Morgan, while a concession to a rival, also cemented their position. They were no longer just a European power. They were a global one. What happens when your country, the one you have assimilated into, goes to war with your brother's country? What happens to Mayer Amschel's dying command, family unity, above all else, when nationalism demands a new, higher loyalty? What they don't realize, what nobody realizes, is that the war about to unfold is going to be fundamentally different. It isn't going to be a limited war. The Rothschilds, in the Nazi mind, are not just a Jewish banking family. They are the symbol of it all. They are the spider at the center of the imaginary global conspiracy. They are propaganda enemy number one. Just 21 years after World War I ended, the world goes right back to doing the same damn thing. The French army gets caught completely off guard. By June 1940, German tanks are rolling into Paris. The City of Lights goes dark. The capital of France, the home of James Rothschild's empire, falls. And the French Rothschilds are in grave danger. Not theoretical danger, actual immediate deadly danger. The Nazis have made it very clear what they think about Jewish people, and the Rothschilds are their prime target. This is the moment the ghetto fear returns, a terror Mayer Amschel would have understood. The family members who see what's coming get out early. They flee. They grab what they can carry and run. The older Rothschilds in France, Edward, Robert, and Maurice, manage to escape. It's chaotic. It's terrifying. These are people who've never had to run from anything in their lives. They've been at the top of European society for generations, and now they're refugees. Britain is now standing alone against Hitler. If Britain falls, the House of Rothschild faces its certain end. Not just financial ruin, actual extinction. And for the family members who can't get out, who are too old or too slow or just unlucky, the Nazis arrive. The Nazis seize everything. This is not war financing. This is looting on an industrial scale. The banking houses get taken over. The German and Austrian branches are essentially destroyed. The wealth that took generations to build, wiped out. The Frankfurt Bank, the home base, the anchor of Mayer's original plan, is gone. The Vienna Bank, the bastion of the Habsburgs, is gone. The people, the connections, the assets, all liquidated by the Nazi machine. The old European order is dead. Mayer's map is obsolete. The new map has only two true powers, America and the Soviet Union. Everyone else, including the tattered remains of the British and French empires, is playing for third place. And the financial center of the world has definitively moved from London to New York. Wall Street is where the action is. They are still rich, still influential, but they're no longer the name in banking. They're a name, one among several. They cannot compete with the American mega banks on scale. If they try, they will be swallowed. So, they adapt. This is the key to their survival. They always adapt. They must choose a new niche. The high-value clients who need discretion and expertise, they return to the model of Mayer Amschel, not as a coin dealer, but as the trusted, private, behind-the-scenes advisor to the new royalty of billionaires, corporations, and post-colonial governments. Their new motto is a defensive posture. Stay private. Maintain control. Don't chase growth for growth's sake. Financial deregulation sweeps London and New York. Small banks are being swallowed by bigger banks. Those bigger banks are becoming mega banks. Mergers and acquisitions are everywhere. New financial instruments, derivatives, options are creating new, massive revenue streams. The banks that are winning are the ones getting bigger, more aggressive, more modern. And inside N.M. Rothschild and Sons, the family drama that Mayer had feared most, the one that he warned would splinter and destroy them, finally boils over. On one side, you've got Lord Victor Rothschild and his son Jacob. On the other side, their cousin, Sir Evelyn Rothschild. They fundamentally disagree about the future of the bank. Jacob is the modernizer. He is brilliant, ambitious, and he sees the writing on the wall. He looks at this new landscape and thinks the family bank needs to adapt or die. He wants to modernize ownership structures, bring in outside capital, pursue aggressive expansion, maybe even take the bank public. It's about legacy, about control, about which branch of the family gets to define what the Rothschild name means going forward. The feud is bitter. It is a war over the soul of the dynasty. But family drama quickly becomes the least of their concerns. He served in the British Army during World War II, worked in British intelligence, and then built a media empire, Pergamon Press, Mirror Group newspapers. He's a mogul. He also has a traumatic backstory. Most of his family was killed in the Holocaust. That kind of loss, the transcript notes, scars you. They weren't directly involved in the theft. There's no evidence they knew. But they'd been financing him. They'd lent him money. They'd vouched for him by association. When you're in business with someone, especially as their banker, their scandals become your scandals. The Rothschild name, which had survived Napoleon and Hitler, gets tainted by association with a con man. He could now argue that if the bank had been public, like Jacob wanted, if they had outside shareholders demanding quarterly growth, if they were under constant pressure to find new, risky clients like Maxwell, they would have been even more exposed. They might have ignored even more warning signs in pursuit of profit. That is the strategy for survival. That is how the Rothschilds will enter the 21st century. Not as the conquerors they once were, but as the ultimate survivors. Dưới đây là phần kết luận đã được viết lại. Bỏ tất cả các dấu ngoặc kép. You're probably settling deeper into your pillows now, feeling the weight of your own day lifting as you think about all this history. It's private equity, buying and selling companies. It's asset management, handling massive portfolios. It's philanthropy, funding science and art. It's even wine, producing some of the most legendary vintages in the world. It's not the monolithic empire it was in the 1800s. It's more like a constellation of successful families connected by a shared name and history. And, honestly, the transcript notes, that's probably healthier. Rigid structures eventually break. Flexible ones bend and survive. The real story is how they did it. How did they break the curse of family wealth? There's a saying, first generation builds it, second generation maintains it, third generation spends it. Gone. Most family fortunes disappear within 3 generations. The Rothschilds broke that pattern. They're on like their 7th or 8th generation and still wealthy, still influential. How? They did it by prioritizing long-term survival over short-term gain. This sounds simple. You can make a quick profit by screwing someone over, but you lose their trust forever. And trust, in banking, in business, in life, that's the asset that compounds most powerfully over time. They were ruthless, make no mistake. They were bankers, not saints. They profited from wars that killed millions. They took advantage of information asymmetries. But they kept their word. If a Rothschild made an agreement, they honored it even when it hurt. This earned them loyalty. In 1848, when James's Paris Bank was about to collapse in the Revolution, Lionel in London had a choice. The smart financial move, the rational move, was to cut his uncle loose and protect the London bank. That's what a modern CEO would have done. But Lionel remembered his grandfather's words. He took the risky bet. He bailed James out. He sacrificed short-term profit and safety for long-term family unity. And the family survived. Evelyn's conservative vision won out, a choice vindicated by the Maxwell scandal. He chose the path of survival over the path of maximum growth. He chose to be the most trusted bank, not the biggest. He chose longevity over scale. And that leads to the final, most important principle: privacy. The Rothschilds, in a world of social media, influencers, and reality TV, understood something ancient. They understood that privacy is a luxury, that power is quiet. That's why they survived the Nazis. When so many other wealthy families were wiped out, they saw it coming and had the networks and assets outside of Germany, outside of Austria. That's why they survived the 2008 financial crisis, when the mega banks imploded. While everyone else was getting rich on risky derivatives, the Rothschilds stayed smaller, stayed private, stayed conservative. They weren't the ones needing government bailouts. They just quietly weathered the storm. Their journey is a sprawling epic, beginning in the suffocating confines of a ghetto where they were forbidden from even owning a patch of land, and culminating in a global network that bankrolled empires, financed restorations, funded industrial revolutions, and literally, irrevocably, changed the course of history. This is the story of how they built the world's most powerful banking dynasty, a financial architecture designed by a single patriarch to withstand the storms of centuries. Prince William has stupid amounts of money, and he needs an agent, a broker, to manage his collections. This is where Mayer deploys his first truly brilliant, slightly shady, absolutely genius idea. The transcript details this blueprint for the family's future success. When Prince William wants to buy gold coins, he gives Mayer the money. But Mayer doesn't just go and buy them. First, he goes to the market and buys the coins himself, using borrowed money. He arrives in London with £20,000 and, like his father, immediately spots the inefficiency in the market. In the booming textile industry, he sees everyone making one profit. Nathan wants three. He provides manufacturers with raw materials, profit 1, provides them with dye, profit 2, and then buys their finished goods to sell to retailers, profit 3. He creates vertical integration before that term even exists, tripling his money in a few years. While others see an impossible risk, Nathan thinks, "I got this." He buys £800,000 worth of gold from the East India Company. Then he activates the family network. He doesn't try to ship it all from London. He moves the gold through his brothers. Through the Rothschild houses in Frankfurt and Paris, the gold is acquired, converted into French coins, and smuggled using the very routes Nathan had been perfecting for years. The money arrives exactly where Wellington needs it, exactly when he needs it. Wellington's campaign is saved. The war effort moves forward. And Nathan Rothschild? He later calls it the best business I ever did. The commission is huge. He profits from the currency conversion, but the real prize is what he's proven. The Rothschild network can solve impossible financial problems that stump entire governments. He has secured ultimate access. He has made the family indispensable. This network gives them an information delay, a window of time where they know the outcome of a battle, the death of a king, or the collapse of a government hours ahead of everyone else, sometimes a full day ahead. In that window, before the market can react, they buy or sell. If they know France is winning, they buy French bonds. If Britain has suffered a defeat, They sell British currency. The transcript is blunt. This is insider trading before insider trading even has a name. As Mayer Amschel lay dying in 1812, he gathered his sons and gave them their most important lesson, the one that mattered more than any financial strategy. Family unity comes first above all else, always. He had seen what happens to family businesses when the next generation fights. They splinter, they collapse, they disappear. You will not let that happen to the Rothschild name. The houses must cooperate, not compete. They must act as one entity. Their very success bred resentment, making them an easy target. This story will show how they navigated this, with Lionel eventually fighting his way into the British Parliament, breaking down the last barriers of the ghetto his grandfather could never have dreamed of crossing. It must also introduce their rivals. It is a story of navigating modern scandals, like their association with the fraudster Robert Maxwell, a disaster that reinforced the family's core belief in caution and privacy. The story of the Rothschilds, as we will see, is not, in the end, about being the richest family in the world. As the transcript concludes, they're not even close anymore. Tech billionaires and modern industrialists have amassed fortunes that dwarf their own. The real achievement, the true thesis of their saga, is longevity. The Rothschilds are still here. After 250 years, after navigating the fall of monarchies, the Napoleonic Wars, the revolutions of 1848, the rise of rivals, the American Civil War, 2 world wars, the Holocaust, and the 2008 financial crisis, the name endures. They are not a footnote in a history book. They are still a force in the world of finance. This, then, is the story that will unfold. It's a physical presence, an invisible wall you have to push through every morning. The alley outside your window, a slit of mud and cobblestone between towering, leaning buildings, is an open sewer, a dumping ground, and a marketplace. The air is thick, almost chewy, with the smell of unwashed wool, rotting vegetables, and too many people crammed into too little space. It's the sour stench of poverty, a miasma of desperation you can taste. This is your world. Will they wake to this same smell? Will they push this same cart? Will their lives also be defined by this crushing, humiliating maybe? The anger in you is a cold, hard stone, not a hot, reckless anger, but a deep, calculating one. There has to be a better way. You know there is. You've seen it. You've studied the Christian merchants, the ones who can trade in luxury goods, the ones who have connections to the courts and the nobles. They are not your friends, but they are your clients. You are Mayer, the coin dealer, the man with an eye for value. You are useful, and in this world, useful is the first rung on the ladder to access. You are building a reputation. You are scrupulously honest in your dealings. You deliver exactly what you promise. You are quiet, discreet, and knowledgeable. You are the man who can find that one coin to complete a collection. He is also remote, arrogant, and perfectly happy to let his agents handle the grubby details of acquisition. You are now his agent, his Hofjude or court Jew. It's a precarious position. You are his guy, his broker. He is not going to go down to the market himself. That's beneath him. He tells you what he wants, and you are to go get it. And this is where you have your brilliant, slightly shady, absolutely genius idea. The first time it happens, your heart is in your throat. You are now, implicitly, the seller. You present the coins. They are perfect, exactly what he wanted. Here are the coins you requested, Your Highness. The market price for such rare items is, and you name a price. This market price is, of course, a fiction. It is a price you invented. It is significantly higher than what you paid for the coins just hours before. The prince, who has no idea what the market price is because you are the one telling him, happily agrees. As the transcript says, you're making money coming and going on every single transaction. This is the blueprint. This is the secret. It is not just about trading. It is about controlling the flow of information. It is about acting as both the buyer and the seller, the middleman on both ends of the deal. It is about using other people's money, the prince's, to secure a guaranteed sale, while using your own, borrowed capital, to extract the maximum possible profit from that sale. But here's the thing about you, Mayer. It's never enough. The transcript is quick to analyze this. That's not greed talking. Well, maybe it is a little, but it's more than that. You're thinking long-term, generational. You don't just want to be rich. You want to build a dynasty. You want to create the kind of family name that echoes through history. You know that what you're doing, being a court agent, even a wildly successful one, has a ceiling. Banking. Banking is the next pivot, the final one. Banks don't just make money. You realize. They create it. They move it. They control the flow of capital across cities, countries, continents. Banks finance wars and rebuild nations. Banks are how nobility becomes obsolete, and money becomes the only nobility that matters. So, you become a bank. It's not overnight. It's a process. You are meticulous. You use your vast piling profits from Prince William. You will send them to the great capital cities, Vienna, Naples, Paris, and the crown jewel, the center of the financial universe, London. One son will stay with you in Frankfurt to maintain the home base, but the other four, they will be your ambassadors, your outposts, your network. They will create a financial spiderweb across Europe, with the Rothschild family sitting at the center of every strand. This, you realize, is the final architecture. This is how you build a dynasty that lasts. You will transcend the ghetto not by leaving it, but by making it irrelevant. You will build an empire that has no borders, no single king, and no physical capital. Its capital will be the family bond. Its territory will be the flow of money, and its law will be the word of a Rothschild, passed from one brother to another, faster than any army or king can follow. You must picture the scene. They have grown up watching this world, but not like him. They have seen wealth, not just survival. They have watched him turn knowledge into gold. Now, he must teach them the final, most crucial lesson: how to keep it, how to transform it from a seizable pile of money into something eternal. The room is thick with a near religious gravity. On the table is not money. It is a map of Europe. Amschel, he says to his eldest, you will stay here, in Frankfurt. You are the anchor. You will maintain the home base, keep the books, and ensure our roots are deep. Solomon, he turns to the second, you will go to Vienna. Vienna, the heart of the ancient aristocratic Habsburg Empire, a place of marble palaces and a rigid, discriminatory society. It is a mission that requires finesse, not force. Karl, he addresses the fourth. You will go to Naples. The rejection he faces, the subtle condescension from the British bankers, the fact that he is an outsider, he doesn't see these as barriers. He sees them as weapons. They keep him hungry. They keep him focused. He has no time for their leisure. He has only time for the work. He arrives in London with his £20,000 and immediately starts looking for opportunities. The financial center of the world is at his feet. The Industrial Revolution is transforming the economy. Factories are churning. He has a trusted network of receivers in Paris, Naples, and Frankfurt who can take his goods, move them, and sell them without getting caught. He begins smuggling textiles, precious metals, anything that can be moved quietly and sold for profit. He develops a reputation. People know him as the guy who can get goods to the continent when nobody else can. They call it superior management. They say it's good judgment. Really, it's just being willing to take risks that other merchants won't. and having the connections to make those risks pay off. By 1808, Nathan's business in London is reporting sales of £800,000. That's massive. In just a few years, he has gone from a Frankfurt banker's son with £20,000 to a major player in London's financial scene. The money is rolling in, the reputation is building. He is ready for the next step. It is time. Time to become a bank. It is in these final moments that he cements his legacy. He gathers his sons, or sends word, in what will be his final, most important dispatch, and drills home the lesson, the one that will save them all. Family unity comes first above all else. Always. He has seen what happens to family businesses. The next generation fights over control. They splinter. They collapse. They disappear. He will not let that happen to the Rothschild name. He didn't escape by running. He escaped by launching 5 arrows, 5 extensions of his own will, clear over the walls, into the very hearts of the empires that had caged him. He dies knowing his legacy is in good hands. And those hands, now free from their father's direct command, are about to seize the opportunity of a lifetime. Because Europe, the continent they have just seeded with their network, is about to enter an age of wars. Big ones, bloody ones, expensive ones. But it is in London, in a small, chaotic office at 2 New Court, Street Swithin's Lane, that the news hits with the force of a coronation. Nathan Mayer Rothschild stands, the letter in his hand, the pressure he has felt his entire life, the immense weight of his father's expectations, the legacy he was trying to create, has just multiplied. He is no longer just a son on a mission, he is a pillar. The training is over. I will make it simple, Nathan continues. From now on, you deal only with me. I will supply you with all your raw cotton. I will supply you with all your dyes. You will not worry about sourcing, or shipping, or quality. You will only do what you do best. Manufacture. And you will give the finished goods to me. The manufacturers, as the transcript notes, love it. Of course they do. He is simplifying their lives. He is absorbing all their risk, all their logistical headaches. He then turns around and sells it to his captive manufacturers at a markup. Asterisk profit 2. The dyes. He does the exact same thing with dyes. He buys vats of indigo and barrels of other chemicals, again in bulk, and sells them to his manufacturers. He controls the 2 most important and volatile inputs. Asterisk profit 3. The finished goods. After his manufacturers have done the work, using the materials he sold them, he buys the finished bolts of cloth from them. This is the kind of return that makes investors weep with joy. But for Nathan, it is just proof of concept. It is just the first, legitimate phase. Because Nathan, like his father, is not satisfied with legitimate business alone. He has learned from Mayer. He knows the real money is in the gray areas, the places where rules are more like suggestions. And the single biggest gray area in the world is the one created by Napoleon Bonaparte. The Napoleonic Wars are raging. Napoleon has established the Continental System, a massive, continent-wide blockade designed to strangle Nathan's new home, Great Britain. It is an act of economic warfare. In response, Britain blockades France. Trade is not just difficult, it is treasonous. A normal merchant sees this as ruin. He sees his ships idle, his warehouses full of unsold goods. Nathan Rothschild sees the greatest business opportunity of his life. He is the London-based head of logistics for a private, multinational corporation that has perfectly placed, utterly trustworthy agents in all the key enemy and neutral territories. He has James in Paris, the heart of the enemy empire. He has Karl in Naples, a key port. He has Salomon in Vienna and Amschel in Frankfurt, hubs for moving goods across Germany. The operation is brilliant. Nathan, in London, uses his textile wealth to acquire goods. His management is a willingness to take risks that other merchants won't, precisely because having the connections means it's barely a risk at all. By 1808, this two-pronged attack, vertical integration in textiles and continental smuggling, has produced an avalanche of cash. His business in London is reporting sales of £800,000. It is a massive figure. In less than a decade, the Frankfurt banker's son has become a major player in London's financial scene. The money is rolling in. Europe is entering an age of wars. The transcript reminds us, not the limited wars of the 18th century. These new wars are ideological, total. They are the kind of conflicts that don't end in negotiation. They end when one side can't fight anymore. And fighting costs money. Lots and lots of money. Nations need to finance these wars. They need gold, weapons, supplies, and credit. This is the world the five brothers have inherited. It's like asking for ice in the desert. Their own system is too slow, too rigid. How would they do it? They'd have to raise gold in London, a public, slow process, load it onto a ship, pray it isn't intercepted by the French Navy or grabbed by pirates or sunk in a storm, landed in Spain, and then try to trade it for French coins in a war zone. It would take 6 months, and Wellington needs it now. The British establishment is paralyzed. Their empire, their war, their very survival is stalling. And Nathan Rothschild hears about this problem. He hears the whispers in the city. He sees the panic in the government's attempts to raise funds. And he sees dollar signs or pound signs. This is not just another deal. This is it. The opportunity he's been waiting for. The kind of deal that doesn't just make you rich, it makes you legendary. The kind that makes you the guy who saved Britain's war effort. And he can't be seen buying it up on the open market. It would start a panic and drive the price to the moon. He needs a single, massive source. He learns the East India Company has £800,000 worth of gold sitting around. They want to sell it. Nathan doesn't haggle. He doesn't send an agent. He shows up at the sale and buys all of it. Every single ounce, the entire lot. He just drops the cash and walks away with enough gold to sink a ship. That's what the government would have done. Instead, he activates his brothers. He uses his private carriers to send urgent coded messages to Paris and Frankfurt. Think about this. He sends a message to James Rothschild in Paris. Paris, the capital of the enemy. His brother is sitting in the belly of the beast. He also messages Amschel in Frankfurt. The message is simple. I have £800,000 in gold. Start buying French gold and silver coins. Quietly. Use all your contacts. They are buying the ice from inside the desert. Step 3. The transportation. The gray area expertise. The coins are acquired. They are gathered in caches, in Frankfurt, and even inside France. Now, they must be moved to Wellington's army, which is in the field, on the move. This is where Nathan's smuggling expertise comes in. This is not a formal military convoy. It is a gray area business. The Rothschilds use the routes Nathan's people have been using for years to move contraband textiles and metals. The French coins are smuggled into France or across French-held territory in wagons with false bottoms. They are hidden in barrels of wine. They are carried by agents disguised as merchants, peasants, or even army suppliers. It is a covert, fluid operation, moving money in a way no government could. And it all arrives exactly where Wellington needs it, exactly when he needs it. The campaign moves forward. Wellington's army can buy bread, hay, and intelligence. The war effort doesn't collapse due to lack of funds. The invasion is a success. Nathan later describes this as the best business I ever did. And he's not exaggerating. The commission alone is huge. Days later, the Rothschild courier arrives, and Karl pays the recipient 10,000 thalers worth of Neapolitan ducats from his own vault. It is magic. It is frictionless. It is a financial transaction that defies wars, blockades, and borders. And for this service, the transcript notes, they charge high fees, sometimes as much as 8%. They are the only network on Earth, hermetically sealed by blood, that can be trusted to honor a note written by a brother in another country. This is a private intelligence agency, loyal only to the five brothers, designed for one purpose: speed. The couriers. They are not just messengers, they are Rothschild agents. They are paid fortunes, more than government ministers, for their loyalty and speed. They operate in relays, well-trained horses that can ride day and night. A message leaves Vienna, is handed off by Solomon's agent to a new rider, who thunders to Frankfurt, who hands it to another, who rides for Paris, who hands it to another, who makes for the Channel coast. They carry small coded dispatches that are meaningless to anyone but a Rothschild. They bypass the slow and unsafe public mail, which is constantly read by government spies. The pigeons. For urgent messages over short distances, they are way faster than horses. This is financial intelligence, and Nathan is the spider at the center of this new web. Now imagine the scene. The London Stock Exchange. A chaotic, screaming madhouse of men in top hats. They are trading government bonds, called consols. The value of these bonds is a direct bet on the stability of the government. A rumor hits the floor. Napoleon has escaped Elba. Panic. If Napoleon returns to power, all his old debts will be worthless. The market plummets. Traders are ruined. He lands in England and rides day and night to London. He arrives at New Court, collapsing from exhaustion, and delivers the news to Nathan. Nathan Rothschild knows. He knows Wellington has won. He knows Napoleon is finished. He knows this a full day ahead of the official government dispatch, which is stuck on a slow boat. He walks onto the floor of the exchange. The panic is at its peak. Rumors of a British defeat are rampant. Everyone is selling. The richest, most powerful man in the world cannot, as the transcript notes, defeat the one enemy that eventually comes for everyone. Medicine in 1836 is basically guesswork mixed with prayer. The man who had survived the panic of Waterloo, the man whose decisions moved markets, the man who had built an empire of information and gold, was defeated by an infected abscess. He died at age 58. It was a weird and shockingly premature end. His mother, back in Frankfurt, the matriarch who had started in the Judengasse with Mayer, is still alive and she's going to live past 90. But Nathan, the fierce son, the tip of the spear, was gone. His death was one of the most important events for the city and perhaps for Europe in a long time, wrote the London Times, a newspaper not given to emotion. No operations comparable to his have existed in Europe to this time. Think about that. A banker dies and it's treated like a head of state passing. The financial world he had dominated held its breath. The markets react immediately. British bonds fluctuate. Currency traders panic. The questions were hissed in every exchange in Europe. What happens to the House of Rothschild now? Is this the end? Will the brothers fight over control? Will the whole empire collapse without Nathan holding it together? The competitors, the bearings, the hopes were circling. He is more comfortable in aristocratic circles. He is a strategic thinker who can play the long game. Where Nathan saw opportunities and grabbed them, James sees trends and positions himself ahead of them. He has been running the Paris Bank for years, cultivating the French aristocracy, surviving the fall of Napoleon and the restoration of the monarchy. He has made the Paris house a powerhouse. Now, with Nathan gone, the pressure is massive. The banking world is watching. James needs a new edge, a new industry, something the Rothschilds can dominate before everyone else catches on. He needs to think bigger than just financing wars. Wars end. Industries last forever. He looks out over Europe in the 1000 840 and he sees the future rolling toward him on iron rails. Railroads. This is his pivot. This is his great generational gambit. England built the Stockton-Darlington line in 1825, and suddenly everyone realizes this is going to change everything. Transportation, trade, industrial growth. Railroads are the internet of their day. They are connecting cities that used to be days apart. They are making goods cheaper to move. They are opening up markets that were previously too remote to reach. This is it, James decides. This is the next big thing. And James wants the Rothschilds to own as much of it as possible. Throughout the 1840 seconds, the Rothschild banks provide financing for railroad ventures across Europe. The Rothschilds put in some money, but most of the risk is spread across the syndicate. It is a brilliant strategy. If the project succeeds, the Rothschilds make huge returns on relatively small investments. If it fails, they're not wiped out. While other banks are doing straightforward lending, James is creating complex financial structures that maximize profit while minimizing risk. He is thinking 3 moves ahead. The railroad boom makes the Rothschilds even richer. Poverty wages. No safety regulations. The cities are choking on coal, smoke, and human misery. The average person looks at families like the Rothschilds and sees the face of everything wrong with the system. They are the bankers, financing the governments and the industries that are grinding workers into dust. The resentment is building, and it's about to explode. By the late 1840 seconds, France is a powder keg. The government is in debt. The economy is on the edge. The people are angry at the government and angry at the financiers who keep the government afloat. And, as the transcript grimly notes, wealthy Jewish bankers make an easy target. The spark comes in 1848. Revolution breaks out. It is not a small riot. It is an explosion. The king, Louis Philippe, is forced to abdicate. The Second Republic is declared. Paris is a war zone of barricades and gunfire, and the French banking system nearly collapses. The situation is dire. Bailing out the Paris bank is risky, really risky. What would a rational banker do? The transcript is clear. It would be safer to cut losses and let Paris handle its own problems. That is what the Barings would do. That is what any normal bank would do. Lionel's primary duty is to his bank, the London Bank. If he sends his gold reserves to Paris and the French Revolution collapses completely, the London Bank could lose massive amounts of money. But he sees, especially after the 48 revolutions, that this power is fragile. It is resented. It is vulnerable. A mob can still burn your house down. A government can still seize your assets. The family's power is incomplete. They are still, in the eyes of the law and the aristocracy, outsiders. They are Jews. They are financiers who whisper in politicians' ears. They are not in the room. Lionel decides to change that. He wants to enter government. He doesn't want to be an advisor. He wants an actual seat in Parliament. He wants to be in the room where decisions get made. This is, as the transcript states, wild. It is wild because no Jew has ever held a seat in the British House of Commons ever. Mayer Amschel, his grandfather, couldn't even own land in Frankfurt. And here his grandson is, the richest man in England, deciding he is going to become a lawmaker in the most powerful empire on earth. The Jewish banker, the grandson of a ghetto dweller, has been elected to Parliament. It is a monumental victory. He goes to the House of Commons to take his seat. Except there's a problem. A big, stupid, bureaucratic problem. To officially take his seat, Lionel has to swear an oath. Standard procedure. But the oath requires you to swear on the Holy Scriptures, meaning the New Testament, the Christian Bible. He has the serious business-like presence that old financiers love. He is the kind of guy who makes you trust him with your money just by looking at him. He is, in his own way, a perfect predator. Junius has watched the Rothschilds. He has seen their Napoleonic coup. He has studied how they built their fortune by financing governments during wartime. He understands that to play with the big boys, to compete with families like the Rothschilds, he needs to get into government financing. Naturally, the French government goes to their banker. They go to the Rothschilds. Alphonse de Rothschild, in Paris, looks at the situation. He consults with his cousin Lionel in London. They are the smart money. They have seen enough wars to know who's going to win. Their analysis is flawless. Bismarck is smarter. Prussia is stronger. The German military is better organized. Their conclusion is swift, logical, and unanimous. France is walking into a meat grinder. The war kicks off, and it goes exactly how the Rothschilds predicted. It is a disaster for France. Germany wins decisively, completely. It's not even close. Napoleon III himself is captured. Paris is besieged and starved. The war ends with the Treaty of Frankfurt in 1871, and the humiliation is maximum. The German Empire gets proclaimed at the Palace of Versailles, in the Hall of Mirrors, the very heart of French glory. France is defeated, occupied, loses the territories of Alsace-Lorraine, and is forced to pay massive reparations to Germany. It is a catastrophe. The Rothschilds feel pretty smart right now. They avoided a terrible investment. They protected their capital. Junius Morgan must be ruined. Everyone knows he's ruined. A defeated, occupied nation, now buried under a mountain of reparations to Germany, will never be able to repay a £10 million commercial loan. It's impossible. They pay back the entire loan early with interest. Junius Morgan walks away with £1.5 million in profit from a deal everyone else thought was insane. He made a fortune by seeing what the Rothschilds missed, by asking the right question instead of the obvious question. This changes everything. The Rothschilds, for the first time in a century, have been outthought. They were too smart, too logical. It is a tremor, a shifting of the balance of power. For the first time in a century, the House of Rothschild has been outmaneuvered. For the first time, a government in desperate need of major financing found another option. And the Rothschilds, now in their third generation, are less hungry. The fire of the Judengas, the fierce energy of Nathan, has cooled into the refined comfort of aristocracy. Lionel is in Parliament. Alphonse, in Paris, is a patron of the arts. Cornelius Vanderbilt is dominating railroads. Andrew Carnegie is building a steel empire. And John D. Rockefeller is creating Standard Oil, a monopoly so vast it would make even the Rothschilds pause. These men are not nobility. They are not polite. They are creating fortunes that will soon rival those of entire nations. And who is financing this chaos? Who is wrangling these wild men and imposing order on this volcanic economy? Not the Rothschilds. They need to get in. They need to make up for lost time. But they have no access. They have no in. And the perfect opportunity is about to present itself. Not in a boom, but in a crash. It arrives on May 9th, 1893. The railroad boom, the very one everyone wanted in on, collapses. It was a bubble, building for the sake of building. And suddenly, the transcript says, boom, gone. Railroad companies start going bankrupt, one after another, like dominoes falling. He is absolutely determined to maintain the gold standard. This is his line in the sand. You have to understand the context, as the transcript explains. In the 1890 seconds, the US dollar wasn't the global currency. That was the British pound. America is still an emerging market. If America wanted to be taken seriously, it needed to prove its currency was solid. backed by gold, trustworthy. Cleveland believes that maintaining gold convertibility is more important than anything else, more important than unemployment or suffering. If the dollar loses its gold backing, America loses its credibility. So he refuses to do expansionary fiscal policy, no stimulus, which would be fine except for one tiny problem. The government is running dangerously low on gold. The public is panicking. They were quietly investing in gold and silver mining operations all over the world, South Africa, South America. They understood hard assets. Their gold holdings are enormous, way bigger than any government's. In fact, they have been using their influence to push countries toward adopting the gold standard because it makes their gold holdings more valuable. And now, the largest emerging nation on earth is about to break the standard, a move that would devalue the Rothschilds' primary asset globally. This cannot be allowed to happen. J.P. Morgan reaches out to the Rothschilds. The new king of Wall Street calls the old kings of Europe. Here's the situation. Here's what we need. Can you help? The Rothschilds look at this and see a perfect opportunity. Morgan arranges to issue $65 million in government bonds. The government is essentially borrowing money from the public. But who has the gold to back this loan? Morgan takes those bonds and uses the money to negotiate with the Rothschilds. He buys 3.5 million ounces of gold, a staggering amount. We're talking tons and tons of physical gold that has to be transported across the Atlantic. The Rothschilds provide the liquidity. As the 19th century bleeds into the 20th, the family is basking in a long, golden afternoon of unprecedented wealth and security. They are no longer the hungry outsiders. They are barons in Austria, lords in England, patrons of the arts in France. They have become the aristocracy they once sought to supplant. By the early 1900s, as the transcript notes, you can feel the tension building across Europe. It is like watching a pot about to boil over. Imperial rivalries, arms races, secret alliances. It is a powder keg waiting for a spark. The Rothschilds, who've been profiting from European conflicts for a century, see this tension and think it's just another opportunity. This, they assume, will be just another limited war. More wars mean more financing needs, more government bonds, more currency trading. It is the same game they've been playing forever. In fact, they are advocating for military expansion. Natty Rothschild, Lionel's son, the head of the London Rothschild Bank, is pushing for Britain to expand its naval capabilities, build more ships, maintain dominance at sea, and yeah, the transcript confirms the Rothschilds will happily finance those ships. This is the fatal miscalculation, the one variable they never factored in. It is going to be total war, industrial war, the kind that grinds up entire generations. On June 28, 1914, the spark ignites the keg. Archduke Franz Ferdinand is assassinated. The alliance system drags the continent into the abyss, and the family pact is irrevocably broken. This is the moment Mayer feared most, a nightmare he could never have even conceived of. They're literally funding both sides of the same war. The unbreakable bundle of 5 arrows has been shattered. Rothschild money is now paying for the machine guns that are mowing down British boys in the mud of the Somme. And Rothschild money is paying for the artillery shells that are blasting German boys in the trenches of Verdun. This violates everything Mayer Amschel taught them. And while Europe commits financial and demographic suicide, a new power is rising, watching from across the Atlantic. The Rothschilds survive World War I, but their dominance is slipping. The scale of their operations is getting overshadowed by a new generation of banks, particularly by the House of Morgan in America. Some of the smartest members of the younger generation are walking away from the family business entirely, pursuing art, science, or politics. The drive, the hunger of Mayer Amschel is not there. The banking houses are pursuing their own strategies. The tight integration that made them dominant is loosening. And then, the world gets even worse. Germany, after WWI, is humiliated and broke. They are paying massive reparations. The economy is destroyed. Inflation gets so bad that people are using wheelbarrows full of cash to buy bread. The suffering is real and widespread. Into this chaos steps a new kind of leader, one who understands how to harness anger, how to channel resentment, how to give people someone to blame for their suffering. Except this time, for the Rothschilds, this isn't just another war to profit from. This is a war of extinction. 1939. Germany invades Poland. Britain and France declare war. But this war moves fast, terrifyingly fast. Spring of 1940. The Blitzkrieg is unleashed. Hitler's military machine starts rolling, and it doesn't stop. Denmark falls in hours. Hours. Norway. The mansions and estates, the symbols of their arrival, get confiscated and turned into headquarters for Nazi officials. SS generals drink Rothschild wine from Rothschild cellars in Rothschild homes. It's not just financial loss, it's personal. It's the erasure of their history, their identity. And the people who can't escape face worse than property loss. They survived, which is more than many Jewish families can say. But they've been fundamentally changed. The dynasty that operated seamlessly across Europe for over a century is now fragmented, scattered. The German and Austrian branches are essentially destroyed, wiped out. The Vienna Rothschilds, the Frankfurt Rothschilds, the branches that helped build the empire. Mayer's grand design, which survived Napoleon, the 48 revolutions, and the Morgan Challenge, was finally and irrevocably shattered by the industrialized hatred of the Nazis. The world has changed, and the surviving Rothschilds must now figure out what their name means in this new, post-war world. The war is over. The flags of freedom are flying over a graveyard. The French house in Paris is a hollowed-out shell, its vaults empty, its legendary art collections looted and scattered. Only the London branch, N.M. Rothschild and Sons, survived intact, protected by the English Channel and the Royal Air Force. They are the survivors. They are the last bastion, and they wake up to a world they no longer dominate. He sees the consolidation happening and believes the Rothschilds need to compete at that scale, or they'll get left behind. The world, he argues, has moved on. Sir Evelyn, who is running N.M. Rothschild and Sons, sees it completely differently. He is the traditionalist, the guardian of Mayer's legacy. He believes that modernizing the ownership structure is how you lose control. To him, Jacob's ideas are heresy. The Rothschild Bank, Evelyn argues, must be owned by Rothschilds 100%. No outside investors. No dilution of family control. That's non-negotiable. His argument is based on history. For over 150 years, they survived because the family controlled them completely. They made decisions based on long-term family interests, not quarterly earnings reports. That privacy, that discretion, that's what elite clients pay for. You start bringing in outside capital, he warns, and you lose what makes you special. Both arguments make sense, but they're incompatible. You can't both modernize ownership and keep 100% family control. You have to choose. The conflict gets personal. It's not just about business strategy. Because Robert Maxwell, the media mogul they've been financing, is about to create a massive scandal that will threaten their reputation in ways they haven't experienced since World War II. A guy named Robert Maxwell enters the picture. He's complicated. For Maxwell, the experience of extreme poverty and horror created an absolute imperative to never be poor again. Wealth wasn't just nice. It was survival. But building the empire he wants requires capital. And in London, you go to the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds agree to back him. On paper, Maxwell's investments look solid. Publishing is profitable. Newspapers are influential. He's seen as a successful businessman, a self-made man. But underneath the surface, problems are brewing. Maxwell's empire is more leveraged than it appears. He's borrowing heavily. He's moving money around in ways that are creative at best, fraudulent at worst. But he's good at hiding it. Then, November 1991, the news breaks in a way that feels surreal. Hundreds of millions. He'd been taking money that workers had saved for their retirement, money they'd earned through years of labor, and using it to prop up his failing business empire and maintain his luxurious lifestyle. The yachts, the mansions, all of it, funded by money that belonged to regular people. The investigations intensify. The whole thing was a house of cards. His death itself becomes suspicious. Did he fall? Did he jump? Was he pushed? He knew his empire was collapsing. He knew the investigations were closing in. But here's what we do know. He left behind a disaster. Thousands of employees with destroyed pensions. For the Rothschilds, this is a nightmare. People start asking uncomfortable questions. How much did the Rothschilds know? Should they have known? Were they negligent? Did they look the other way because Maxwell was profitable? The truth is probably simpler. Maxwell was good at fraud. He fooled everyone. But for Sir Evelyn de Rothschild, this whole scandal is a horrifying public vindication of his entire argument. This is exactly why discretion matters, why privacy matters, why you can't chase growth for growth's sake, why you need to be careful about who you do business with, why the old conservative ways exist for a reason. They fade, leaving behind one final, central question. After 250 years, what is the point of the Rothschild story? The truth, as the transcript states, is that the Rothschild family isn't the richest family in the world anymore. They're not even close. Governments that worked with them once kept coming back. The business grew through reputation, not advertising. You couldn't buy that kind of trust. You could only earn it. They did it by prioritizing family unity over individual ambition, at least for the first 100 years. That was the fuel for their ascension. Mayer's final commandment, family unity above all else, wasn't sentimental. It was a cold, hard business strategy. He knew the natural result of putting 5 ambitious brothers in charge of different branches was infighting. He knew they would try to prove they were better than the others, and in doing so, they would tear the entire thing apart. His dying wish was the operating system that prevented that. It was the social pressure, the weight of history, that kept them aligned. And it worked. When it mattered most, it worked. But that same pact was a liability by World War I, when it was shattered by nationalism. It was an impossibility after World War II, when the German and Austrian branches were destroyed. The family feud in the 1980 seconds, the fight between Jacob the Modernizer and Evelyn the Traditionalist, wasn't a sign of the dynasty's failure. It was the sound of the dynasty adapting. It was the family painfully metabolizing the modern world. They were still one revolution, one wave of anti-Semitism, one angry king away from losing it all. They never lost the ghetto fear. That insecurity, the transcript argues, paradoxically made them better at preserving wealth. When you know everything could disappear tomorrow, you plan differently. You diversify aggressively. You maintain multiple safe havens. You don't get complacent. Comfort breeds carelessness. Fear breeds preparation. They chose reputation over gain. They chose family unity until it became a weakness. And then they chose adaptation. They weren't static. They weren't rigid. They changed with the times while maintaining certain core values. That's the trick, the transcript says. Know what to change and what to keep. Most people get that wrong. The Rothschilds got it right. Not perfectly, not always, but more often than not. And that is why, long after the tech fortunes of today may have faded, long after the "what's next" billionaires are forgotten, it is very likely that the name Rothschild will still be here. Not dominant, but present. Not feared, but respected. Not the biggest, but enduring. And that is the truest victory. They prove that the greatest measure of wealth is not its size, but its duration. Now, let your mind quiet. Let the story fade. Just rest. Across 3 centuries, a single family name has become synonymous with a level of financial power so vast it has been said to wield more influence than most nations. This is the story of the Rothschilds, a dynasty that did not conquer armies or rule from thrones, but instead built an empire of capital, turning abstract information into tangible gold and the chaos of war into geometric, predictable profit. The alley outside is a slurry of human existence, an open-air second-hand market mixed with a dumpster, where heaps of old clothes and soiled household goods spill into the narrow streets. It is the smell of unwashed wool, rotting vegetables, and too many people crammed into too little space. It is a smell so thick, you can taste it. This is the world of Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the patriarch and architect of the entire dynasty. In this world, he is not a titan. Not the work itself, but the economics of it. The profit margins, as the transcript notes, are terrible. He is hauling bales of fabric that weigh more than he does, dealing with merchants who look down on him. And for what? Maybe enough to keep the lights on and food on the table. Maybe. This is not a path to wealth. It is a treadmill to the grave, a guarantee that he will die in the same cramped, smelly ghetto where he was born. But Mayer Amschel possesses a clarity of thought forged in this deprivation. He sees the Christian merchants, the ones with access to luxury goods and connections to the noble courts. They are not, he realizes, smarter than him. They just have access. And access, Mayer understands, with a sudden, seismic certainty, is everything. This single realization is the seed from which the entire Rothschild empire will grow. If the system denies him access, he will create his own. He pivots. Then, he turns around and sells those same coins to Prince William. He acts as the middleman on both ends of the deal. It's a practice we now call front-running. As the transcript states, it was about as legal as you'd expect, which is to say, not very, but nobody's checking. The prince gets his coins. Mayer gets paid twice. First, he collects his legitimate 8% commission. But second, and far more importantly, he makes money on the spread. By 1782, the man from the ghetto, the man who couldn't legally own land, is now the official investment manager for one of Germany's wealthiest princes. He is the richest man in Frankfurt. But Mayer is thinking long-term, generational. He doesn't just want to be rich, he wants to create a legacy, a dynasty. And he knows that being a trader, even a wildly successful one, has a ceiling. The real power, he sees, is in banking. Banks don't just make money, the transcript explains. They will, in effect, create a financial spiderweb across Europe, a private, transnational network, with the Rothschild family sitting at the very center of every strand. This network becomes the family's greatest weapon. The story of the Rothschilds is the story of this network in action. Take Nathan, the third son, sent to London. He is fierce, ambitious, and might even be better at this than you are, Mayer thinks. His army is stuck in France, and he has a critical logistical problem. He needs French coins to buy supplies. The local populace won't accept British pounds. The British government is freaking out. They have no way to acquire and transport that much French currency through a war zone. Nathan Rothschild hears about the problem and sees, as the transcript notes, dollar signs. This is the opportunity that doesn't just make you rich, it makes you legendary. This deal establishes the template, but the network's most profitable function is not just moving money, it's moving information. In the 1800s, news travels at the speed of a horse or a ship. The Rothschilds, understanding that in finance information is everything and speed is king, build the fastest private communication network in Europe. They use private carriers, elite, well-trained horses, and most famously, carrier pigeons. It's legal because there are basically no financial regulations. It's just smart business. Ruthless, maybe unfair, definitely, but legal and wildly profitable. The profits from this speculation absolutely dwarf everything else. Nathan, in London, becomes the richest man in the world, with more money than some countries have in their entire treasuries. This unparalleled success, this machine of wealth, is all built on one fragile foundation: family. It will show how these two dynasties, Morgan and Rothschild, would eventually be forced to collaborate to save the entire American economy during the Panic of 1893, a moment that stabilized the U.S. dollar but also signaled a definitive shift in global financial power from London to New York. And finally, any true introduction to the Rothschilds must set the stage for their darkest hour. The rise of Hitler and the blitzkrieg that rolled across Europe was not just a financial crisis, it was a certain end. The transcript details the horror, the looting of art, the confiscation of mansions, the seizure of banks. The German and Austrian branches, the very roots of the empire, were essentially destroyed, their wealth wiped out in a few years of Nazi occupation. This is the precipice from which the modern Rothschild story emerges. It is not just a history of money. It is a multi-generational lesson in strategy, resilience, and the power of a family network. It is the story of how a man who was denied the right to own a single plot of land created a dynasty that would one day finance the world. A dynasty that learned the ultimate lesson, that true power is not measured in peak wealth, but in the one currency that matters more than gold survival. Picture this. You're waking up, and it's not to the soft, creeping light of dawn. It's to the cold, the Frankfurt Judengasse, the Jewish ghetto, in 1760. Your name is Mayer Amschel Rothschild, and the first sensation of your day, before your eyes even open, is the bite of the damp air through your thin blanket. You're on a straw pallet, packed flat by years of use, and you can feel the unyielding floorboards beneath it. And then the smell hits you. It's the second constant of your life after the cold, or at least it feels that way. Your father, Amschel Moses, is gone. He was a small-time money changer and silk trader, and he had dreamed of you becoming a rabbi. He sent you away to study, but his death brought you back to this alley, back to the need to simply survive. You are now the man of the house, responsible for your mother and brothers. The rabbinical texts are put away. The only book that matters now is the ledger. You do what your family does. You trade. So you deal with merchants who look down on you. You stand, cap in hand, in their warm, spacious offices, your boots tracking in the filth of the Judengasse you're not allowed to forget. They haggle over pennies. They make you wait for hours. They inspect your goods with a sneer, knowing you have no other buyers. They know you need the sale more than they do. That imbalance is their power and your shame. At the end of a 14-hour day, a day of physical exhaustion and quiet humiliation, you count your coins. You've made maybe enough to keep the lights on and food on the table. Maybe. This maybe is what haunts you. This is not a path to wealth. This is the path to doing the same thing your whole life and dying in the same cramped ghetto where you were born. You look at your younger brothers. You think of the family you will one day have. You promise to find the coins. Then, You walk out of the palace not with the prince's money, but with his order. You go to your own network of dealers, the ones you've spent years cultivating. You know exactly where these ducats are, and you buy them yourself, not with the prince's money, but with borrowed money. You leverage your own credit, which you have been painstakingly building. You now own the coins. You then return to the prince's palace. You are no longer acting as his agent. It is a closed loop of profit, and you are the only one who holds the key. The commission alone would be nice, the transcript observes, but the front-running, that's where the real wealth is building. You do this over and over, year after year. Every time Prince William wants gold coins, or art, or antiques, you run the same play. Buy it first, sell it to him at a markup, collect your commission. The money isn't just trickling in anymore. You, Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the Jewish guy from the ghetto who couldn't legally own land, who started out trading second-hand clothes in the smelly alley, are now managing the investment portfolio of one of the wealthiest princes in Germany. You are being trusted with millions. You have transcended the ghetto walls, not by breaking them, but by making yourself so indispensable to the men in charge that they have willingly opened the door for you. And you know, with the same cold clarity you had as a young textile trader, that this is not enough. A fortune concentrated in one city, under one jurisdiction, is a target. It can be seized. A revolution, a new ruler, a wave of anti-Semitism, it could all be gone in an instant. Your fortune is a fortress built on a fault line. To build something permanent, something that can withstand the shocks of history, it cannot be in one place. It must be everywhere. It must be a network. You look at your family. You don't just have one son. You have 5 sons. 5 smart, ambitious, hungry sons who've watched you build this empire from nothing. Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Karl, James. They are not your children. They are your solution. They are the 5 arrows in your quiver, and you've got a plan for them. A crazy, audacious, borderline insane plan that requires them to leave home, to shatter the family unit in order to save it. You are going to send them out. Where the others calculate risk, Nathan calculates opportunity. In Nathan's eyes, Mayer sees his own hunger, forged not by the desperation of the ghetto, but by the impatience to dominate the world outside it. Mayer puts his finger down on the map. This is the plan, he announces. The crazy, audacious, borderline insane plan, as the transcript describes it. He will not build a higher wall. He will make the walls irrelevant. He will create a distributed fortress. The legend holds that he gathered 5 arrows from a quiver. It's the parable that would become the family's coat of arms. He hands 1 arrow to each son. "Break it," he commands. They do, easily. He then takes 5 more arrows, binding them together tightly with a leather strap. "Now, break this." They try. Amschel, Nathan, all of them. They strain. The bundle does not yield. This is the law, Mayer Amschel declares, and it is the most important lesson he will ever teach. Alone, you will be broken. Your competitors, the governments, the envy of the world, they will snap you like a dry twig. But together, you are invincible. And this is the network's true purpose. It is not to be 5 separate banks. It is to be one bank, operating in 5 locations. You will not compete with each other, he commands. This is revolutionary. In a world of individual merchants, all looking to undercut their rivals, Mayer has eliminated internal competition. You will cooperate. You will share information, he continues, his voice lowering. Information is gold. It is more precious than gold. You will write to each other every day. Not every week. Every day. They will create a private nervous system. News of a failed harvest in Naples that Karl learns of will be in London within days, allowing Nathan to corner the grain market before London has even heard the rumor. Just 2 entries in 2 ledgers in 2 different countries, balanced by a private, internal, absolutely reliable system of credit. For this service, they charge a handsome commission, and they also make money on the currency conversion. They have created a private, analog wire transfer system a full century before the telegraph makes it commonplace. This is the financial spiderweb Mayer envisioned. Each sun is an anchor point, and the strands are the flows of credit and information that only they control. Any vibration on the web, a war, a panic, an opportunity would be felt at the center of every strand by the Rothschild family. First, the mission is given. The brothers disperse, Salomon to Vienna, Karl to Naples, James to Paris. Amschel remains in Frankfurt. And Nathan. Nathan sets out for London. We must focus on Nathan, for the transcript does. Nathan is special. He is the tip of the spear, the vanguard sent into the most important territory. He's got your business sense, but with an edge. Picture Nathan now. He is the ultimate outsider. A German Jew in the heart of polite, class-obsessed English society. He speaks English with a thick accent. He does not have the polish of the City of London bankers who went to Eton and Oxford. He is not a gentleman. He is a tradesman, and the son of a tradesman from a ghetto. And he feels the weight of it. The transcript is clear. The pressure on Nathan is immense. This is not a young man seeking his fortune. This is a soldier on a critical mission. He's not just representing himself. He's representing the family, the Rothschild name, your life's work. Mayer has given him £20,000. It's serious capital, multiple millions in today's money. It is a fortune. But it is not a gift. It is a test. You expect him to turn it into 10 fortunes. Everything he does is being watched. Every decision he makes, every deal he closes or fumbles, it doesn't just affect his bottom line. It reflects on the family, on you, on the legacy you're trying to create. And here is Nathan's psychological key. Nathan does not do well with pressure from others, but pressure on himself, that's different. That drives him. That makes him dangerous. He does not come to London to assimilate. He does not come to make friends or join gentlemen's clubs. He comes to win. Goods are being manufactured faster and cheaper than ever before. And the first industry he lays his eyes on is the very one his father started in: textiles. The London textile industry is booming, but the competition is fierce. Everyone is trying to grab a piece. Nathan watches. He sees a game, just as his father saw in Frankfurt. He sees inefficiency. He sees everyone else making one profit. The transcript explains this beautifully. You've got the guys who source raw materials. They just handle the manufacturing and give him the finished goods. This is vertical integration before that term even exists. Think about this. The manufacturers love it because it simplifies their lives. They no longer have to worry about sourcing, negotiating with a dozen suppliers. Nathan becomes their one-stop shop. Nathan loves it because he is making money at every stage. He is buying raw materials cheap, selling them to manufacturers at a markup. Profit 1. He is buying dyes cheap, selling those at a markup. Profit 2. And then he is buying the finished manufactured goods, at a discount of course, since he is their supplier, and selling those to retailers. Profit 3. While everyone else is making 5% in one place, Nathan is making 5% in 3 places. According to Nathan's own account, and he's probably exaggerating a bit, he turned that £20,000 into £60,000 in just a few years. He tripled his money. That is the kind of return that gets you noticed. But it is still just the beginning. Because Nathan, like his father, knows a fundamental secret. He is not satisfied with legitimate business alone. Why would he be? He learned from Mayer. He knows the real money is in the gray areas, the places where rules are more like suggestions. He has built a logistics network to move dye and cotton. Now, he will use that network for something else. He starts smuggling. This is the early 1800s. The Napoleonic Wars are raging. Europe is under blockade. The British government has tariffs and taxes on imports, especially as they try to control trade with continental Europe. Smuggling is risky but hugely profitable. If you can get goods past the customs officials, you can sell them for far more. Nathan has connections. He has ships. And most importantly, he has his brothers. Because, just as his father realized, trading textiles, even smuggling them, has a ceiling. But banking? Banking has no ceiling. The skies is not even the limit. The limit is how much wealth exists in the world. Nathan's plan is to build his bank bigger than his father's. He wants the London Rothschild Bank to be the flagship, the crown jewel, the one that all the others look to. And given that London is the financial capital of the world, it's not a crazy ambition. Meanwhile, back in Frankfurt, Mayer Amschel is watching this unfold with pride. His plan is working. Nathan is thriving in London. His other sons are establishing themselves in their cities. The network is forming. The web is being woven. Everything he dreamed of is starting to become real. But he is also getting old. His health is deteriorating. The energy that used to carry you through 14-hour days is fading. He knows the end is coming soon. Mayer Amschel is dead. The year is 1812. The patriarch is gone. The architect of the dynasty laid to rest in the same cramped ghetto he swore to transcend. The news travels, slowly, through the family's own private network of couriers, a wave of grief and duty washing over Europe. In Frankfurt, Amschel, the stoic eldest, takes his father's seat. In Paris, James, the charismatic youngest, feels the shift. In Vienna, Salomon, the diplomat, reads the letter with quiet gravity. He goes straight for the booming heart of the British industrial machine, textiles. It's the trade his father started in, the trade his father hated for its terrible margins. Nathan sees something different. He sees a game of fierce competition where everyone is trying to grab a piece and, in doing so, getting in each other's way. He sees inefficiency. The transcript outlines his observation with beautiful clarity. He watches the merchants. You've got the guys who source raw materials. They make one profit. The guys who dye the fabrics. They make one profit. The guys who manufacture the finished goods. They too make one profit. Everyone's specialized. Everyone is a single, vulnerable link in a long chain. Nathan looks at this chain and has the same thought his father had with Prince William's coins. Why not be the whole chain? He doesn't just dip his toe in. He executes a full-scale assault on the industry structure. He becomes their single, predictable supplier. And Nathan loves it because he is making money at every stage. He is now in complete control. Vertical integration before that term even exists. Let's follow the money. The three profits he is now capturing. Asterisk profit 1. The raw materials. Nathan uses his £20,000 and his growing credit to buy raw cotton in bulk, directly from the ships, at a price no small manufacturer could ever get. Not just textiles, but precious metals, coffee, sugar, British industrial tools, anything that is small, valuable, and desperately needed on the continent. He uses his legitimate shipping contacts to move the goods. They are hidden in fishing boats, transferred at night in the choppy waters of the Channel, buried under legal cargo. They are landed on the coasts of France or Holland. And who is there to meet them? Not some untrustworthy local thug who could steal the shipment or betray him. He becomes the guy who can get goods to the continent when nobody else can. Other London merchants, their business is failing, marvel at him. They whisper that he has superior management. They say he has good judgment. Nathan no doubt lets them think this. He doesn't correct them. He doesn't explain that his judgment is a network of 4 brothers. And, most importantly, it will be the vehicle for his grandest ambition. He doesn't just want to be a banker. He wants N.M. Rothschild and Sons to be the flagship, the crown jewel, the one that all the others look to. He is in London, the financial capital of the world, and he is not going to be second best. He is not just competing with his brothers for his father's approval. He is competing with the British establishment. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the smuggler, the traitor, the banker, stands in his office at New Court. He is no longer just the son of a Frankfurt banker. He is the banker. And as the Napoleonic Wars reach their bloody, continent-spanning climax, a desperate British government, on the verge of losing its entire war effort for lack of money, is about to find out just how powerful that banker has become. They have an impossible financial problem, and their father's final dying lesson now hangs in the air. No longer a piece of advice, but a commandment. It is the most important lesson, the one that matters more than any business advice. Family unity comes first above all else. Always. Picture that final, desperate scene. Mayer, his health deteriorating, his body reminding you that you're mortal, gathers them. He knows what happens to family businesses. This family bond, this unbreakable commitment, is their secret weapon. The world sees 5 small, independent banks. The brothers know they are one, a single 5-headed entity, a financial hydra connected by a private nervous system of couriers and letters. They promised him. They took it to heart. And now, their father is gone. The war against Napoleon is reaching its apex. His army, the most powerful in the world, is on the verge of starvation and mutiny, not because of Napoleon, but because their money is worthless. He needs local currency, lots of them. The British government is freaking out. They are stretching thin financially after years of war. The treasury is hemorrhaging. And now they are faced with an absurd, impossible request. They must somehow acquire massive amounts of French currency during a war with France. But Nathan, unlike the bumbling officials at the treasury, understands the catches. Asterisk. Catch 1. You need to acquire a huge amount of gold, immediately, without causing a market panic. Asterisk. Catch 2. You need to somehow convert that gold into French coins. Asterisk. Catch 3. You need to transport those coins through an active war zone directly to Wellington's army. Asterisk. Catch 4. You need to do it all faster than the British government can figure out an alternative solution. Most people would look at this situation and say, it's impossible. Too many moving parts, too much risk, too complicated. Nathan looks at it and thinks, I got this. Why? Because this isn't a problem for a bank. This is a problem for a transnational smuggling operation. And Nathan, thanks to his gray area business, runs the most sophisticated one in the world. This isn't a logistical nightmare for him. This is Tuesday. He goes to the government. He tells them he'll handle everything. The acquisition, the conversion, the transportation, the whole operation. He has the connections. He has the smuggling routes he's been building for years. He has people in France who can move goods quietly. The government, desperate and out of options, doesn't really have a choice. They agree. Now, watch the machine at work. Step 1. The acquisition. Nathan needs gold. A lot of it. I will cover you. He is not dealing with random banks who don't trust each other. He's dealing with his brothers, his family, people he knows will deliver. So, while Nathan's gold sits in London as collateral, James and Amschel use the family's continental funds to start buying up the target currency. They are sourcing the French coins from behind enemy lines. James, in Paris, taps into the French market itself. Amschel, in Frankfurt, taps into the German markets. It was, as Nathan would call it, the best business I ever did. It was also just the beginning. The real, permanent dynasty-building wealth was yet to come. Because Nathan and his brothers had learned something far more valuable than how to move gold. In the process of saving Wellington, they had perfected their spider web, their private transnational intelligence agency. And in that time gap, in that information delay, the entire market is blind. Fortunes are made or lost based on nothing but rumor and fear. Nathan Rothschild looks at this system and finds it intolerable. He will not wait for the news. He will go and get it. He and his brothers perfect the machine they built for the Wellington deal. They build the fastest private communication network in Europe. This is not a public mail service. A few days later, a Rothschild courier, his horse lathered in sweat, arrives at New Court. Nathan reads the dispatch from James in Paris. The real news. Napoleon's army is small. The king is secure. The panic is an overreaction. Nathan walks onto the floor of the exchange. He is impassive, calm, while everyone else is desperately selling. His agents, on his signal, quietly buy. They buy French bonds, British bonds, Austrian bonds, all at a massive discount. Days later, the official news arrives. The crisis is over. The market explodes upwards. The bonds Nathan bought for pennies are now worth a fortune. He does this over and over. If they know France is about to win a major battle, they buy French bonds before the price goes up. If they know Britain just suffered a defeat, they sell British currency before it drops. They are always one step ahead, always trading on information nobody else has yet. And Nathan is at his usual pillar on the exchange. He is impassive. He is not listening to the madhouse. He is waiting for his courier. A Rothschild agent, a man named Roworth, is at the battle. The moment Wellington's victory is clear, he does not go to the official military messenger. He rides for his life to the Belgian coast. He finds the channel in a storm. No fisherman will cross. Roworth bribes one with a fortune, and they cross the raging sea in the dark. The legend says Nathan, in a brilliant piece of theater, stood at his pillar, looking devastated, and began to sell his own consols. The market saw this. My God, they thought. Rothschild knows. He's selling. It's all over. They panicked. They sold everything. The price of British bonds plummeted to pennies on the pound. And then, quietly, through his network of agents, Nathan turned around and bought everything. The information edge has made him king. For a generation, Nathan Mayer Rothschild was the House of Rothschild. He was the richest man in the world, a force of nature, the pillar his father had anointed, the man who had bent the British government to his will. He seemed less like a man and more like an institution, as solid and permanent as the Bank of England he so often rivaled. And then, on July 28th, 1836, he woke up feeling wrong. They saw blood in the water. They believed, perhaps hoped, that Nathan was the secret sauce. They had forgotten about the pact. They had forgotten about the other arrows. The family took it seriously. This family unity, above all else. The system doesn't need one man. The network still functions. The information still flows. And a new leader steps into the light. In Paris, Nathan's younger brother, James, running the French bank, steps up as the de facto leader. James looks at the empire his brother built, and he sees a problem. He realizes something. The old game, the game that made Nathan legendary government bonds and war financing, is getting saturated. The competition is eating away at profit margins. Why? Because everyone's doing them now. The Rothschilds have shown the world how to do it, and now every minor bank is trying to get a piece of government debt. The deals that made Nathan's fortune aren't as lucrative anymore. But James is not just lending money. That's the old way. He is investing. He is taking equity positions. He is getting involved in the construction. He is trading railroad stocks and bonds. This is a new, more sophisticated form of financial engineering. James is clever about risk management. He uses other people's money whenever possible. He creates syndicates, pulling in capital from other investors, with the Rothschild Bank acting as the manager. James Rothschild, the refined, strategic leader of the family, is right in the crosshairs. He is the man who financed the railroads. He is the man who lent money to the now hated, deposed king. He is watching his life's work, his family's legacy, everything his father built teeter on the edge of complete destruction. This is the ghetto fear, reborn in a mansion. Angry mobs could storm the bank. The new revolutionary government could seize assets. The system isn't designed to let people like him in. But Lionel's logic is simple. He wants to eliminate prejudice against his people. And you can't change a system by staying outside it. You have to get in there and break it open from within. He has money, lots of money. And in politics, money talks louder than anything else. He starts buying up newspapers and funding media campaigns. He is running a modern political operation in 1847. He is buying influence, shaping public opinion. By this point, most of the legal restrictions are gone. The Commons even passed a bill saying a Jewish person could hold a seat. So, in August 1847, Lionel mounts the hustings as a Liberal candidate for the City of London. This is the financial district, the heart of British commerce. These are his people. And Lionel wins. He actually wins the election. The entire system, built on Christian assumptions, has come down to this one final symbolic barrier. Lionel looks at the requirement. He looks at the Bible they are holding out to him, and he basically says, yeah, no, not happening. He is Jewish. He's not swearing on Christian scripture. It violates everything he believes. He makes his stand. He tells them he'll swear on the Old Testament. The Torah, that's his holy book. That's what matters to him. Take it or leave it. The Commons freaks out. This has never happened before. Nobody's ever challenged the oath. Can we even allow this? Is this legal? The debates go on for years. Literally years. He is re-elected by his constituents. He shows up. They ask him to swear the oath. He refuses. They refuse to seat him. He goes back, runs again, wins again. He becomes a symbol, a cause célèbre. But Lionel doesn't back down. He keeps showing up, keeps making his case, keeps pushing. He has the financial power to wait them out. He has the political support of his district. He has the stubbornness of his father, Nathan. And eventually, finally, after way too long, they cave. They change the rules. In 1858, after an 11-year fight, Leopold de Rothschild is allowed to swear his oath on the Torah. He takes his seat in Parliament. This is the monumental capstone to the second-generation story. They're not just bankers anymore. They're not just rich. They are the untouchable center of a financial universe they created. They have survived revolutions. They have bankrolled industrialization. They have merged their vast wealth with direct political power. The transcript is clear. What could possibly challenge them now? The family, comfortable in its dominance, doesn't see the rival rising in the background. They don't see the man who is studying everything the Rothschilds do and learning from it. Meet Julius Morgan. He is not a product of the Judengasse. He is an American, a different kind of outsider, an American banker working for a British merchant banking firm called George Peabody and Company. When Peabody, his partner, retires in 1864, Junius takes over the whole operation. He renames it J.S. Morgan & Co. And Junius is smart, really smart. Picture him. He is the antithesis of the fierce Nathan. He is calm, controlled, never shows emotion. He needs his own Wellington deal. He is watching Europe, waiting for the right conflict, the right opportunity, the one that everyone else will pass on because it looks too risky. In 1867, he sees the tension building. France wants to buy Luxembourg. Prussia, the rising German power, says absolutely not. And Prussia is led by Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck is not a king. He is something far more dangerous. He is a wild man with a brilliant mind. He is a raging bull, a duelist, a genius who is single-mindedly focused on creating a unified German empire. He is not a man you bet against. He is maneuvering, pushing, engineering a conflict. He wants this war. The tension keeps building. And on July 19th, 1870, Napoleon III makes it official. France declares war on Prussia. Bismarck has his wish. The board is set. Now, the war needs money. France needs loans, weapons, financing for the whole war effort. They played the odds on the war, while Morgan played the long game on the economy. The House of Morgan is now a major player in international finance. Word spreads fast in banking circles. Morgan is not just some American upstart. He's legitimate. He's got capital connections, and most dangerous of all, he's got guts. The balance of power is shifting. For decades, if you were a government and needed major financing, you went to the Rothschilds. They were the only option. Now there's another option. Now there's competition. And competition means the Rothschilds can't charge whatever they want anymore, can't pick and choose deals as easily, can't assume they'll always be the first call. While the Rothschilds are dealing with their own family transitions, with James dead and the younger generations growing less hungry, a new dynasty has entered the ring. He is seizing control of the railroads, merging competing companies, Morganization, they call it, and single-handedly building a new financial center on Wall Street that is emerging to rival or even surpass London. The Rothschilds, dismissing America for years, are starting to realize they missed something big. They see the House of Morgan succeeding. They realize America is where the action is moving, where the next century of wealth will be built. It would be a disaster that makes the current depression look mild. Cleveland needs help fast. He is a president, trapped by his own policy. He cannot print money. He must find gold. He calls on the one man who moves in a world bigger than politics. He calls on J. Pierpont Morgan. J.P. Morgan, Junius's son, is now running the show. He walks into the White House, and he understands immediately how bad this is. The government is about to default. This is catastrophic for America. And honestly, the transcript notes, it would be pretty bad for the House of Morgan too, since their entire business model depends on America being financially stable. If the country goes down, they go down with it. This is not charity. This is survival. But the problem is too big, even for Morgan. Solving this problem requires gold. A lot of gold. More gold than the U.S. government has access to. More gold than Morgan can easily acquire. It is, as the transcript notes, a win-win-win. One, win-one. They get to help stabilize America, which is good for their other American investments. Two, win-two. They get to establish a relationship with the U.S. government. They finally get the access they missed. 3. Win 3. They get paid handsomely for the service. The alliance is formed. The two rival dynasties will work together to save a nation. The collaboration between Morgan and Rothschild on this deal creates one of the most sought-after investments anyone's seen. When the gold bonds go on sale to the public, they sell out in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. People are literally fighting to buy these bonds. Why? The confidence in the U.S. government, backed by Morgan and Rothschild gold, is that strong. The crisis gets resolved. The gold standard holds. The dollar remains convertible. American credibility stays intact. Cleveland looks like a genius for sticking to his principles even though he basically got saved by two banking families. Morgan and the Rothschilds both make huge profits and cement their positions as the two most powerful financial institutions in the world. And America, the real winner, takes its place on the world stage as a legitimate economic superpower, a rival to Britain, a force that will dominate the 20th century. The Rothschilds have successfully broken into America. They've got connections now. They've proven they can operate at the highest levels of American finance. But they're still based in Europe. They're still more focused on European markets. They still see America as a fascinating, if vulgar, sideshow. And that, as the transcript ominously concludes, is going to be a problem. For the first time in Rothschild history, members of the family are on opposing sides. Asterisk. In London, Lord Natty Rothschild and his sons are financing Britain and its allies. They are raising massive war loans for king and country. Asterisk. In Vienna, Baron Louis von Rothschild is financing Austria-Hungary. He is funding the Habsburg war machine. Asterisk. In Frankfurt, the home base, the bank is financing Germany. Family unity above all else. Always work together. Never compete. Never fight. But how, the transcript asks, do you maintain family unity when your countries are trying to kill each other? There's no good answer. The family bond, stretched by generations of wealth and assimilation, finally snaps under the strain of industrial slaughter. The war grinds on. Millions die. Entire generations are lost. Morgan Bank, run by JP's son Jack Morgan, becomes the key financier for the U.S. government and its European allies. They are the ones coordinating the massive loans and arms shipments that fuel the Allied victory. They are doing it bigger and better than the Rothschilds ever did. When the war ends in 1918, Europe is a graveyard, deeply in debt to America. The empires that the Rothschilds had financed for a century, the Habsburgs in Austria, the Hohenzollerns in Germany, are gone. The center of financial power is shifting from London to New York, from the old world to the new world, from the Rothschilds to Morgan. The Jewish Chronicle in 1935 basically admits what everyone can see. The Rothschilds' heyday is fading, and he's got particular ideas about who's responsible for Germany's problems. His rise is shockingly fast. By 1933, he's Chancellor of Germany. And his ideology, his hatred, his plans for Europe, they spell disaster for the Rothschild family. This is not like the 1848 revolution, where they were a target for being rich. This is not like WWI, a conflict of nations. This is existential. Their vaults are emptied. The art collections, some of the finest private collections in the world, get looted. Generations of accumulated wealth, Rembrandts, Boucher, Vermeers, are stolen by a government that's decided your existence is a problem to be solved. They face imprisonment, deportation to camps, death. Some Rothschild family members actually join resistance movements. They are not just sitting around. They're actively fighting back, using their connections and resources. Getting caught means execution. The war drags on. Britain holds. The Soviet Union enters. The United States joins after Pearl Harbor. They're not coming back. The wealth that took generations to build got wiped out in a few years of Nazi occupation. The London branch, N.M. Rothschild and Sons, survived because Britain held. The French branch will return to Paris, but to a looted, empty shell. The old European order is dead. The 5 arrows are broken. For the Rothschilds, the victory is bittersweet, a nauseating mix of relief and ruin. The surviving family members return from exile, from hiding, from the resistance, and they begin to count the cost. It is incalculable. The dynasty that had operated as a single, transnational entity for a century is gone. Mayer's 5 arrows are broken, shattered. The dollar, not the pound, is becoming the global currency. The House of Morgan, Goldman Sachs, the new American institutions, they are the Goliaths now. They are the ones funding the Marshall Plan. They are running the show. The London Rothschilds understand their position has shifted. They're not the dominant banking power anymore. Those days are gone. If they can't be the biggest, they will be the most exclusive. They will double down on what the giant, impersonal American banks cannot offer: history, access, and absolute, unbreakable discretion. This becomes their core strategy. They are not trying to become a massive retail bank. That's not their game. Their game is serving the ultra-wealthy and governments. Robert Maxwell, millionaire newspaper publisher, is dead. He disappeared overboard from his private yacht while cruising off the Canary Islands, just vanished into the ocean. At first, people assume it's an accident. Tragic. But then, the investigations start, and what they uncover is so much worse. Maxwell had been stealing from his employees' pension funds. Not skimming. The Maxwell scandal, as damaging as it is, ends the internal family war. Evelyn's vision wins. He doubles down. The bank will remain private. The bank will remain family-controlled. They will be more cautious. They will maintain the discretion that elite clients expect. They won't chase headlines or try to be the biggest bank. They'll be the most trusted bank. Not like Mayer Amschel, who went to bed every night thinking about 5 different banking operations across Europe, wondering if his sons were following the plan, if the network was holding together, if everything would still be standing in the morning. The story is winding down. The names and dates and deals: Wellington's Gold, the Waterloo Coup, the 48 Panic, the Morgan Challenge, the Nazi plunder, they are becoming distant, less sharp, less urgent. If you look at lists of the world's richest families, the Waltons from Walmart, the Kochs from oil and chemicals, the tech billionaires who have more money than the entire Rothschild family combined, the Rothschilds don't even crack the top 10. By that simple metric, they have failed. They have been surpassed. Their heyday is over. But that is to miss the entire point. That's short-term thinking. That's measuring the game by the score at halftime, not by who is still on the field when the final whistle blows centuries later. Lots of people get rich. Fewer people build something that lasts. Even fewer build something that survives them by centuries. That's the real achievement, not the peak wealth, the longevity. The unified empire, the 5 arrows bound by Mayer's iron will, has evolved. It's now a diversified, looser network of interests. It is the hardest thing in finance. It means saying no to profit. When Mayer Amschel was dying in 1812, he wasn't worried about next quarter's profits. He was thinking about what would still be standing in 50 years, in a century. That kind of long-term view, it changes everything. It changes how you make decisions. You don't always take the maximum profit today. You don't always chase the biggest opportunity. Sometimes, the transcript argues, you have to say no to deals that would make you richer right now because they'd create risks down the line. Most people aren't wired to think that way. The temptation of immediate gain is too strong. They also did it by understanding that reputation is an asset, perhaps the most valuable one of all. The Rothschilds always understood that your name is worth more than any single transaction. But here is the real secret, the one that separates them from everyone else. They also knew when to let go. They understood that the form matters less than the survival, that adapting to new realities is more important than preserving old traditions. The ironclad pact of the 5 brothers was perfect for the 19th century. A world of slow communication and hostile outsider status. It was the only way to build the empire. The Rothschilds built their reputation on shutting up, on being the black box where money goes in and problems get solved and nobody talks about it afterward. That's a dying art, and scarcity creates value. You're safe, comfortable in your own bed. The Rothschilds spent generations never feeling entirely safe. That is the final secret. Even at the height of their power, when Nathan was the richest man in the world, they were still Baron Rothschild, the Jew. Boring is sometimes better. Conservative is sometimes smarter. The families that felt safe, that got complacent, that stopped preparing for the worst, those families are gone now. Nobody remembers their names. The Rothschilds are still here, partly because they never stopped being a little bit afraid, never stopped planning for catastrophe. What would Mayer Amschel think if he could see the family now? He'd be proud that the name survived, that his descendants are still wealthy. In the end, the transcript concludes, the Rothschild story is a lesson in the difference between wealth and legacy. Wealth is what you have right now. It's a number on a spreadsheet. Legacy is a structure built to outlast you. The Rothschilds created a legacy that has endured for over 250 years, surviving wars, revolutions, and economic crashes that wiped out nearly every other dynasty. They did it not through luck, but through deliberate choices. They chose longevity over profit.